12 years ago, the nine-tailed fox appeared in the middle of Kanahagakure, its tails wreaking havoc by smashing buildings and mountains and creating towering waves with each roar. In order to save the village and put a stop to the rampaging fox, the Yondaime, 4th, Hogake, Minato Namikaze sealed the beast inside his only child, the newborn Naruto Obito Uzumaki. After sealing the fox inside of his son, the Yondaime Hokage died, his soul trapped in the stomach of the Shinigami. Naruto's mother, Kushina Uzumaki, was also on death's doorstep, only having enough life force to give the Sandaime Hokage her son's name and to beg him to take care of her son. Looking down at the baby that was put in his arms, the Sandaime could see that the boy had blonde hair with dark red tips, reminding him of a flame burning in the night, and blue eyes with a light green gradient. Promising to Kushina that he will take care of her son, the Sandaime bid his farewell to the dying woman. Current time/March. Knock, 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 came a sudden sound breaking through the silence of the Hokage's office. "Come in," said the old Hokage, happy to have a chance for a break from the paperwork. After receiving permission, 3 shinobi ran into the room looking panicked. "Hokage-sama, it's the demon brat. He defiled the Hokage monument for the 3rd time this month," said one of the shinobi. "Is that so? Well, I believe this will be the last prank Naruto-kun pulls in a long time," said the old man, smiling to himself. Elsewhere, with a certain flame-haired boy. "Get back here, brat!" screamed one of the villagers chasing after Naruto. "Come on, you don't think I'll make it that easy for you, do you?" Naruto said, taking turns through the alleyways faster than anyone can keep up until he finally lost the mob of angry villagers that was chasing him, by hiding in the shadows of a wooden fence. "I finally got rid of them," Naruto said, laughing to himself. "Is that so, Naruto?" said a sudden voice coming from behind Naruto. "Oh no!" Naruto yelled. "What are you doing here, Iruka-sensei? Aren't you supposed to be teaching class in the academy?" Naruto asked. "Aren't you supposed to be in that class, Naruto?" Iruka screamed. "ITS graduating day, you idiot," he added. Whack, boom, crash. In the Ninja Academy. "Alright everyone, now that Naruto is here, we can start with the graduation. Line up in order so that we can go over the transformation jutsu," Iruka said. "Where were you, Naruto? We always have to pay for your screw-ups," said Ino Yamanaka, a blonde kunoichi in training. "Like I care," Naruto said, not even looking at the girl. "First up is Sasuke Uchiha," Iruka said, starting the graduation. Sasuke, stepping up, formed the hand seals for the transformation jutsu and turned into a perfect copy of Iruka, even copying his ponytail and the loose hair strands over headband. "Good job, Sasuke. You can go sit down now. Next up is Shikamaru Nara," Iruka said. One for one, Iruka called on his students to do the transformation jutsu, until it was finally Naruto's turn. "Good luck, Naruto-kun," thought Hinata Hyuga to herself. "Are you ready, Naruto?" asked Iruka. "As ready as I'll ever be, Iruka-sensei," Naruto said with a smile on his face. Stepping forward in class, Naruto did the hand seals and turned into a girl almost as tall as Iruka. She had long yellow hair tied up in 2 pigtails on either side of her head, deep blue eyes, and 3 whisker marks. But as Iruka observed the transformation of Naruto, he slowly realized that something was wrong with it. "Sexy no jutsu," Naruto said. Crash came a sound as Iruka shot backward from a nosebleed reacting from the nude transformation of Naruto. Cloud puffs only covering that which needed to be covered. "Stop that, you idiot!" Iruka screamed at Naruto, who was laughing at the first victim of his new jutsu. 20 minutes later. After everyone did their transformation, they were taken to a room 1-for-1 to do the last challenge of the graduation, which is to create clones of themselves, and Naruto was up first. "Alright, Naruto, you're up first this time," said Iruka. "Sure thing, Iruka-sensei, you might as well give me that headband," Naruto said while forming the hand seal to make a clone. "Bunshin no jutsu," Naruto screamed, and a poof was heard signaling that a clone was made. Looking at the clone Naruto made, Iruka observed that it looked sickly and fell on the floor. "I'm sorry, Naruto, but I have to fail you since you can't make a clone," Iruka said, fighting back a tear. "Come on, Iruka. I'm sure we can pass him since he did everything else perfectly, said another man named Mizuki sitting next to Irika. I can't, Mizuki, you know that, Irika said, saddened by his own words. I'm sorry, Naruto, he thought to himself. Later, outside the Ninja Academy. After failing his last chance to pass the academy graduation, Naruto sat outside the academy on a swing made in a tree when Mizuki approached him. Hey Naruto, you got time to chat? Mizuki asked, only to get a head nod from the boy. 3 minutes later, on a rooftop. You know he hates what he did, right? You shouldn't be mad at him for doing his job, Mizuki said. I know. I'm not mad at him, I'm just sad that I didn't pass this time, Naruto said, reassuring Mizuki. You know I don't usually do this since no one impressed me enough to tell them, but I think you can do it, Mizuki said to Naruto, who looked at him with a confused look. What are you talking about, Mizuki-sensei? Naruto asked with a slightly hopeful look in his eyes, making Mizuki continue with a small smile. Well, it's supposed to be a secret, but if you steal the forbidden scroll from the Hokage's office and learn any one jutsu from it, you become a genin. So how about it, Naruto? Think you're up for the challenge? Mizuki asked Naruto. Later that night. Knock, 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 came a sound waking Irika from his sleep. Walking to the door, Irika rubbed his eyes and looked through the door's peephole, seeing a panicked-looking shinobi. What is it? Irika asked, only to receive an answer that will wake him straight up. It's Naruto, he stole the forbidden scroll from the Hokage's office. Current time in the forests outside Konoha. Yes, I learned it, I finally learned the jutsu, Naruto said, jumping up and down. Just as Naruto rolled the scroll up again, Irika came into the clearing Naruto was practicing in. Naruto, what are you thinking taking the scroll from the Hokage's office? If this is a prank, then you've gone too far, Irika said, looking at Naruto, who didn't seem to be paying attention. I did it, Irika-sensei, I learned a jutsu from the scroll, which means that I can become a genin now, right? That's how it works, right? I learn a jutsu from the scroll and I pass the graduation, Naruto said with a face-splitting grin. What? Who told you that, Naruto? That's not how it works, Irika said, Naruto hearing the worry in his voice. But, Mizuki-sensei, Naruto said, only to realize that he was tricked. After realizing he was deceived, Naruto heard someone approaching them at a fast pace, thanks to his heightened senses which Naruto had since he was born. Irika-sensei, Mizuki is coming, we have to run, Naruto said, starting to run back to the village. While running away, Naruto heard a swirling sound behind him, and Irika tackled Naruto to the ground and a thunk was heard. Looking up, Naruto saw one of Mizuki's demon wind shuriken hitting a tree in front of where he stood. Hello, Naruto, you got my scroll? Mizuki asked with an evil smile on his face. Why, you tricked me. You tricked me into stealing the forbidden scroll. You're a traitor to the village, Naruto said, looking at Mizuki while clenching his fists. You mean the village that beats you to a bloody pulp every time you show your face in it? The village that treats you like a demon? Have you ever even wondered why they do to you what they do? It's because you are the dash, Mizuki said, but was interrupted by Irika before he could finish the sentence. No, Mizuki, you can't tell him. It's a S-rank secret. Anyone who speaks about it will be executed or locked up for life, Irika said, hoping his fellow teacher will change his mind. The decree is, no one can tell you the nine-tailed fox is inside you. Naruto stares, shocked. The fox spirit that killed Irika's parents and destroyed our village has taken over your body. You are the nine-tailed fox, Mizuki said, still smiling like he did before. What are you talking about? I thought the Yondaime killed the Nine-Tails 12 years ago. I can't be, Naruto said, but fell to the ground crying about what he just learned. Seeing a chance to kill Naruto while his guard was down, Mizuki threw another shuriken at the crying boy and another thud was heard. Surprised, Naruto looked up to see Irika over him, crying and apologizing to him. Irika-sensei, why? Naruto asked. Because you're like a brother to me. When I first saw you, I hated you because I thought you were the Nine-Tails, but I was wrong. When I tried to get to know you, you were sad and broken after everything that has happened to you. No child should have to go through what you did. but I know what it feels like because I went through most of what you did. Just like your brother, I lost my parents, so I tried to be a brother to you when I finally got to know you, but I failed. Iruka admitted. But you have to run now, Naruto. Take the scroll back to the Hokage and tell him what happened here. Iruka added, and Naruto followed his orders. Running back to the village, Mizuki attacked Naruto only to hear a poof and Iruka falling to the ground. Where did that brat go? Mizuki asked to himself. It's too late, Mizuki. You'll never catch up to him now, he's too far gone, Iruka said, smiling. You're a fool. Why are you protecting that freak? He's the one who wiped out your family, Mizuki said angrily. I don't care what you say, 'cause you're not getting your hands on that scroll, Iruka said, still smiling. As if you could stop me. Don't you get it? Naruto is just like me, Mizuki said. How's that? Iruka asked, his smile slowly fading. He wants the scroll for his own power and his own vengeance. That's how beasts are. He'll pour all his rage into the scroll and destroy everything, Mizuki said. You're right, Iruka said. So it's true. Iruka-sensei never believed in me. He thinks I'm some beast. Some kind of freak, Naruto thought to himself. That is how beasts are. But that's not who Naruto is. He's nothing like that. Naruto's one of a kind. Works hard. Puts his whole heart into it. Sure, he messes up sometimes, and everyone jumps on him, but his suffering only makes him stronger. That's what separates him from being a beast. So you're wrong. He's nothing like the nine-tailed fox. He's Naruto Obito Uzumaki, of the village hidden in the leaves. Iruka said, his smile returning to his face. Humph, you really believe that dribble? Iruka, I was gonna save you for later, but I changed my mind. You're finished, Mizuki screamed. So this is it? Iruka thought to himself. Suddenly Naruto jumps in between them and headbutts Mizuki in the stomach, sending him flying backwards. Naruto, Iruka asked. Not bad, for a little punk, Mizuki said, looking back at Naruto. If you ever lay a hand on my sensei, I'll kill you, Naruto said, staring at Mizuki. Such big words. I can completely destroy you with a single move, Mizuki said with a smug look. Take your best shot, fool. I'll give it back to you 1,000-fold, Naruto said, forming a plus sign with his middle and index fingers from both hands. Let's see you try. Show me what you can do, nine-tailed fox, Mizuki said. Shadow clone jutsu, Naruto screamed. Hearing a poof sound, Iruka looked around, his eyes widening. Surrounding them are hundreds of Naruto clones. Naruto, those aren't just illusions. They're solid clones. He's mastered an extremely advanced jutsu, Iruka thought to himself while smiling. Lord Hokage, we can't find Naruto anywhere, said one of the shinobi that seemed to pop into existence. There's no longer any need to worry, the scroll is safe. Naruto will be back soon, the Sandaime Hokage said, smoking his pipe. Iruka-sensei? How much longer? Naruto asked, bored. Okay, you can open your eyes now, Iruka said, laughing. Opening his eyes, Naruto saw Iruka holding the goggles he was wearing and lifted his hand to his forehead, feeling the cold iron of a leaf headband. Congratulations, you graduate. And to celebrate, I have a surprise. We're going out for ramen tonight, Iruka said, smiling with his eyes closed. Not hearing Naruto do anything, he opened his eyes to see Naruto standing there with his bangs covering his eyes. Hey, what's wrong, Naruto? Iruka asked, confused. Iruka-sensei, Naruto said, jumping at Iruka and hugging him. Ah, that hurts, Iruka said, laughing. Naruto, this is only the beginning. The road gets tougher now that you're a ninja. But if I told you that, I guess it would ruin the moment. So I'll tell you later. Over 500 bowls of ramen, Iruka thought to himself while smiling at Naruto. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the QB, Naruto. I was scared that if I told you, you would either hate the village or be scared of yourself for what is sealed inside of you. But I want you to know that you are not the Kyuubi, said the old Hokage with a deep voice full of sorrow. It's all right, Ajikin, Grandpa. If the village is afraid of me, then I'll just have to show them that there is no reason to be. And I'll never be scared of myself or hate the village that my brother was trying to protect, Naruto said, smiling to the Hokage. I see, that is good, Naruto. Oh, and speaking of your brother, I can finally give this back to since you're officially a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf, the Hokage said, taking a sword from a storage scroll. The sheath of the sword was black and a golden engraving on the side of the opening, which if you inspected closer was the symbol of the Hidden Leaf village. The hilt of the sword was also black with dark orange wrappings to protect the wielder's hands from the shock absorption. The handguard was the red swirling symbol of the Uzumaki clan. The blade was made of 3 feet long black chakra metal with the words Karasu no o Tomodachi engraved into it. Wait, you had my sword this whole time? I thought someone had stolen it after my Oni-chan died, Naruto said, grabbing the sword from Hiruzen's hands and rubbing his cheeks on it before strapping it to his back with his headband between the 2 snapped pieces of rope on either side of the sheath that didn't reach each other. Thank you, Ajikin. I was so sad when I lost Oni-chan's sword. It's the only thing I have left of him, except the house where I live in the forest in the outskirts of the village, Naruto said, whispering the last part to himself, failing to notice the Hokage hearing him. Anyway, Naruto, since you managed to do the clone technique, even if it was a solid clone mixed with your strange ability to control shadows like the Nara clan's Kikiai Genkei, it means that you passed the graduation exam and are now a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. So you must return to the academy in a week's time to be placed in your team. You may go now, Hiruzen said, getting ready to continue with his paperwork. Okay, Ajikin, see you later, Naruto said, ready to walk out of the Hokage's office, but stopped and turned around to ask the Hokage, Hey Ajikin, why don't you use clones to do the paperwork so that you have more free time for yourself? He asked to the now expressionless Hokage. Realizing he won't get an answer, he left the Hokage's office, hearing a loud thud from inside as he closed the door. Inside the office, the Hokage fell to his knees, making the ANBU the room worried. When one of the ANBU captains went to the Hokage to check if he was all right, he heard soft sounds coming from the old Sarutobi. Going even closer to hear what the Hokage was mumbling, he saw the Hokage crying, causing the ANBU captain to facefall. 20 minutes later, with Naruto. Home sweet home, Naruto said, taking of his ninja sandals before walking into his cabin in the forest and going to fall on his bed to sleep the rest of the day away, only for his stomach to start rumbling in hunger. Well, there goes that plan, though I could go for some ramen, Naruto thought to himself while walking to the kitchen and opening a cupboard. Inside was a mountain of ramen cups, each a different flavor, but Naruto always preferred miso ramen. While waiting for his ramen to finish cooking, Naruto changed out of his shinobi attire, which consisted of blue pants, a mesh shirt to protect against projectile attacks, a unzipped orange jacket with blue add-ons at the shoulders, like his jacket in the original series, orange fingerless gloves, and his sword with his forehead protector's headband as a strap, into his sleepwear to be ready for bed after he ate. 1 week later. Damn, I'm going to be late for team sortment, Naruto said to himself while jumping from rooftop to rooftop with a piece of toast in his mouth. I knew I shouldn't have stayed up late with my new invention. What most people didn't know about Naruto Uzumaki was that he loved creating new inventions to use. It started with creating things to use in his pranks like the itching powder smoke bomb, but it evolved into creating things like weapons such as his newest invention, the crossbow, which he intended to give to his rival Sasuke, whose main weapon choice was bows, for his birthday. Finally arriving at the academy, Naruto ran into his classroom out of breath and went to take a seat near his friend Shikamaru. Naruto and Shikamaru met when the Hokage asked Shikaku to help train Naruto with his strange shadow ability. Hey Shika, sorry I'm late, Naruto said with a smile on his face. What are you doing here, Naruto? I thought you failed the graduation, Shikamaru asked, confused, but not breaking his lazy demeanor. Oh, I did. But something happened and now I'm a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. And before you ask, I'm not allowed to talk about it, Naruto said, still smiling, not even noticing the Nara raise his eyebrow. Troublesome. 5 minutes later. Hello everyone. Now that you're all here, we can start the team assortment. But before we do, I am required to ask if anyone wants to drop out now. This will be your last chance to do so. Once you are placed in a team, you can't quit unless you get a serious injury that puts your shinobi life to an end, Irika said in a serious tone. Not seeing anyone leave the room, he continued with the teams. Alright, Team 1 will consist of... 5 minutes later, Irika finally got to Team 7. Team 7 will consist of Naruto Obito Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, and Hinata Hyuga. Your team leader will be Kakashi Hatake. Happy to be part of Naruto's team, Hinata celebrated, though it was only in her mind. On the outside, she was blushing to the point of being as red as the blood flowing through her veins. On the other hand, two kunoichi named Sakura Haruno and the heiress to the Yamanaka clan, Ino Yamanaka, were not happy to be separated from the reason of their rivalry, Sasuke Uchiha. Team 8 will consist of Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame, and Sakura Haruno. Your team leader will be Kuranai Yui. Great, I'm stuck with bug bow and dog breath, Sakura said with a snort coming from Ino. What are you laughing at, Ino pig? At least I'm not stuck with lazy and fatty over there, Sakura said, making Ino gasp in realization of who her team will be and making Shikamaru next to her laugh. Team 10 will consist of Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akamichi, and Shikamaru Nara. Your team leader will be Asuma Sarutobi, Irika said while closing his book. That will be the teams you will be in for the rest of your shinobi career. I hope you all the best and hope you had a great time while you were here. Congratulations, everyone. You are now officially Hidden Leaf Shinobi, Irika said with a smile on his face. One for one, all the team's leaders came to get their Genin squad until only Team 7 was left. What's taking him so long? He should have been here 2 hours ago, Naruto mumbled to himself while putting the blackboard eraser in the doorway to fall on their sensei when he opened the door. Anyway, I guess we should introduce ourselves to each other. Since we are on a team together, I'll go first. My name is Na. Naruto started but was cut off when he heard the door to the classroom open and the eraser hitting the opener's head. Looking back, Naruto saw a masked man with his left eye covered by his headband and gravity-defying silver hair. My first impression of this team is that you're all idiots. Meet me on the rooftop in 5 minutes, said the man they presumed to be their Jonin sensei, Kakashi Hatake. Well, I guess we should go then. Unless we want to make him wait as long as we did, Naruto said, gaining a small scoff from his rival and now teammate Sasuke Uchiha, who was also the last of his clan after his brother Itachi wiped them all out in a single night, only leaving his younger brother to seek him out when he is strong enough. 4 minutes later on the academy rooftop. So this is the team I'll be working with for the next few years. I must say I'm not very impressed, Kakashi said with an expressionless face, though if it was the mask hiding his expression was unknown. You were the one that was 2 hours late. We should be unimpressed by you, Naruto screamed at his sensei. Yeah, anyway, let's start with introductions. Tell me your likes, dislikes, hobbies and dreams for the future, Kakashi said, not even bothered by the flame-haired boy's remark. You go first, Torchlight, he added. My name is Naruto Obito Uzumaki. My likes are Ichiraku ramen, training, and my few friends I have. My dislikes are the few minutes I have to wait for the ramen to finish cooking, not getting enough time for training, traitors and enemies to the village, and people who pick on the weak. My hobbies are trying different ramen flavors, training, making friends, punishing traitors and enemies of the leaf and bullies, and pulling pranks on the village. And my dream for the future is to find the remnants of my clan and rebuild it, to bring peace to the shinobi world and to finish my Nichan's dream of becoming Hokage, Naruto said, smiling, already forgetting his argument with his new sensei. Obito, Kakashi thought to himself. Well, you are a strange one. Next up is Broody, Kakashi said, ignoring Naruto's now angry face. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. My likes are beating the dope in any challenge he throws at me. My dislikes are anything sweet. My hobbies are getting stronger. And my dream for the future is to restore my clan and bring back its honor by any means necessary. Even stranger than Torchlight. Then last up is Princess Oh, my name is H. Hinata Hyuga. My likes are training and helping people when I can. My dislikes are bee-bullies. My hobbies are flower pressing and dancing. And I don't really have any dreams for the future. Well, looks like I have my work cut out for me. Meet me at Training Ground 7 tomorrow morning at about 5 a.m. Oh, and make sure not to eat unless you like throwing up, Kakashi said with an evil eye smile. After their sensei disappeared in the wind, the tree kids looked at each other in surprise, all of them thinking the same thing. What did we get ourselves into? The next morning. Hey guys, am I late again? Naruto greeted. Sup dope. No, we're still waiting on Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke said. Gee, good morning Naruto-kun. H, how has your day been so far? Hinata greeted back. Oh, it's been good. I am hungry though, Naruto said with a tear falling down his face. Do you guys want to go grab something to eat after this? Naruto asked, wiping the tear from his chin. Yeah, sure, I can go for a bite. Are you buying? Sasuke asked while lying under a tree looking like he is asleep. Sure, if you can eat more than me, that is, Naruto said, challenging Sasuke. You're on, Sasuke said, smiling while opening his eyes to look at Naruto. What about you, Hinata? Want to go eat with us? Naruto asked, turning around to look at her, but saw her lying on the grass passed out. What's wrong with her? Naruto asked, looking at Sasuke. You really are hopeless, Sasuke replied with a chuckle, going back to close his eyes. After waiting 2 hours for their Jonin-sensei to show up, he finally did. And to everyone's annoyance, his excuse was sorry. I helped a granny get her cat out of a tree. After arriving to the training ground, Kakashi explained that in order to be accepted into the team, they had to complete a test. The test being to take one of the 2 bells from his belt, and they had until noon. But Kakashi-sensei, there are only 2 bells and 3 of us, so what happens to the one that doesn't get a bell? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. You go back to the academy, Kakashi said with a blank tone. I see, that would be quite bothersome, but what if I quit right now? That leaves 2 bells and 2 people, Naruto asked, still suspicious on his sensei's motives. Taking some interest in his flame-haired student, Kakashi lowered the orange book he pulled out when he arrived. Well, that lowers the chances of someone going back to the academy, but if one, if not both of the remaining 2 participants fail to take a bell, they still fail and go back. And any one of you who gives up will be banned from becoming a shinobi. So will you still want to put that theory to the test? Kakashi said with an eye smile. No, but what if we all give up? Naruto asked, looking for a glimpse of hesitation in Kakashi's voice. Then you all go back, as simple as that, Kakashi replied, going back to reading his orange book. Any more questions before we start? He added. No, we can start if everyone else is ready, that is, Naruto said. All right with me, Sasuke screamed from under the tree he laid under, finally standing up. And me too, Hinata said, almost unhearable. Okay, then let's get started. And begin, Kakashi said, beginning the test. Finally getting the signal to begin, everyone except Naruto disappeared into the woods around the training ground. Not as bright as I expected, disappointing, Kakashi thought to himself. Seeing his sensei going back to his book, Naruto decided to attack Kakashi on his own to see what he can do, and to test his skill on a Jonin. Sprinting toward Kakashi, Naruto got ready to engage him in taijutsu battle, starting with a roundhouse kick to Kakashi's head, but was slapped away by Kakashi's hand, followed by a punch to his stomach, but again blocked by Kakashi grabbing his hand and throwing him onto the ground. Luckily for Naruto, he landed close to the shadows of some trees, enabling him to create shadow clones. Sending 2 of his clones after Kakashi, Naruto fell from above, but to Naruto's surprise, Kakashi vanished and his 2 clones with him. Landing on his feet, Naruto tried looking around to find his sensei, only to hear hand seals and a voice from under him saying Leaf Village Secret Finger Jutsu, 1,000 years of death, and a sudden pain in his rear sending him flying into the close-by river. Realizing taijutsu won't work on his sensei, Naruto decided to use his sword, which was more of his strong suit anyway, Creating more shadow clones, Naruto jumped out of the river and charged at Kakashi. What is he trying to do? I haven't seen him going for the bells at all. Is he trying to buy time for the others to get the bells while I'm distracted? Kakashi thought, not even once looking up from his book while battling with Naruto. Elsewhere with Sasuke and Hinata. What is the dope trying to do? He doesn't seriously think he can beat a Jonin, does he? Sasuke said while watching the fight in the clearing intensely. I don't think he is trying to get the bells from Kakashi-sensei. I think he is buying time for something. Maybe he wants us to try and get the bells from Kakashi-sensei while he is distracted. Surprised at what Hinata said, he looked at Naruto fighting Kakashi and realized he wasn't go for the bells. I see. Well then let's not keep the dope waiting, shall we? Sasuke said, chuckling and jumping into the clearing, trying not to alert his sensei of his presence, followed by Hinata doing the same. Trying to find a way to get the bells from Kakashi while he is fighting Naruto. Sasuke decided to use the bow slung over his shoulder to try and pin the bells on a tree with an arrow. Seeing an opening when Kakashi blocked one of Naruto's sword slashes to his neck, Sasuke took one of his arrows out of his quiver and put it in his bow. Pulling back his bow string and aiming at the strings holding the two bells, he released the arrow and saw it flowing through the air and pinned the bells to a tree. Is this it? Can they be the ones? Or are they just like the rest? Kakashi thought to himself, realizing they were able to take the bells. Well, you have the bells, so tell me, who will go and who will stay? Kakashi asked after Naruto stopped attacking him. Will you make the princess go back since she didn't do anything? Or will one of you sacrifice your shinobi career for her? He added, looking at them with a raised eyebrow. Sure, I'll give mine up, Naruto said almost instantly. Sasuke, realizing that Naruto has a plan, decides to do the same and give up his bell. Yeah, me too. I'd prefer to be on a four-man squad anyway, Sasuke said, putting his bow back over his shoulder and throwing one of the bells to Kakashi and the other to Hinata. Seeing Naruto and Sasuke start walking away, he reminded them that they won't be allowed to become shinobi if they quit now. Turning around, Naruto and Sasuke answered simultaneously, "We know," and started walking away again but heard someone laughing behind them. I see, so I was wrong after all. Well then I'm glad to inform all three of you hat you pass. And as a congrats I'll buy you all some lunch, so what do you want? Turning back, Kakashi saw Naruto's signature grin and a smug look on Sasuke's face. Looking back at Hinata, all three of them saw her laying on the floor with comedic tears falling of her face and mumbling to herself, what's going on? Laughing, Naruto and Sasuke went to sit next to her and explained what the test was about and their plan to give up their spots for her to pass. Finally understanding what was going on, Hinata stood up with the others and they went to buy ramen. Back in the village at Ichiraku Ramen. Hey Dope, I've been meaning to ask you something. When we introduced ourselves you said something about your brother and rebuilding your clan, Sasuke said while eating his ramen. Oh yeah, I've been wondering about your brother too. It wasn't mentioned in your file, Kakashi added. Well, that's because he wasn't really my brother. He just took me in, clothed and fed me and put me under a roof. If I remember correctly, he took me in after a drunken villager attacked me when I was 5. At first I was scared of him, but as time went on we grew closer, and when I was 6 he enrolled me in the academy and started to teach me some stuff like swordsmanship when he wasn't at work. He was also the one who told me about what happened to my clan in the Third Great Shinobi War. But he died 2 years ago when I was 10 years old. Naruto said, his smile falling a bit when he mentioned the last part. But there's no use in crying about the past. Now is there? He added with his smile returning to his face. But what happened to your clan? Hinata asked with hesitation in her voice. It grew too powerful to be left alone, so the other 4 great nations came together and wiped it out. Those who didn't get wiped out scattered around the world and are hiding. But I heard almost all the shinobi sent to wipe them out were wiped out themselves, including the 2-3 and 6 tails Jinchurikis. Apparently they specialize in sealing jutsu, censoring, and swordsmanship, Naruto said with pride in his voice. Well then let's get as strong as we can and see which clan is the strongest, Sasuke said. Sure. and our first challenge is to see who can eat the most," Naruto said while ordering 5 more bowls of miso ramen to Kakashi's horror. Well, it looks like he has his mother's appetite, Kakashi thought while watching Naruto and Sasuke eating bowl after bowl of ramen. And what makes it even worse is that none of them, not even Hinata who ate 6 bowls of ramen already, looks like they are going to stop soon. After they ate enough ramen to strip Kakashi's wallet of all its contents, Kakashi informed them that they are going to start taking on D-rank missions starting from tomorrow and that they should get some rest. But seeing them go off in different directions, he stopped them and asked where they think they are going. "We're going home, Kakashi-sensei. Why? I thought we need to go rest," Naruto asked with a confused look on his face. "Yeah, you should get some rest, but not at your own places. Don't tell you weren't informed about the living arrangements," Kakashi asked. What living arrangements, sensei?" Hinata asked, finally speaking up. "Every team gets their own compound, which makes it easier to get into contact with the whole team instead of looking for them one for one," Kakashi explained to his new students. "I have my work cut out for me, don't I?" Kakashi thought while sighing. "Well, that makes sense, but where is this compound?" Sasuke asked. "It's in Training Ground 7, of course." After explaining the situation to the 3 genin, they started walking to their new home. After 20 minutes of walking through the tree-filled village, which was easy to get lost in if you didn't live there for most of your life, Team 7 arrived at their compound, which was also covered by all the trees. Looking around the building, they saw it had 4 bedrooms for each member of Team 7, and each bedroom had its own bathroom, storage room, and a training room. Other than the bedrooms, there was a kitchen, a dining room, an office for their sensei to do paperwork, and a living room. Outside was a training ground for training with weapons like swords, bows, and any throwing weapons like shuriken and kunai, and a training ground for taijutsu, ninjutsu, and chakra control. "Alright everyone, I already went to your homes and gathered everything in storage's scrolls. Go put everything in your rooms and get some sleep. Tomorrow is going to be a busy day," Kakashi said, throwing each of them a storage scroll. Going to their rooms, they took everything out of their scrolls and put it in their rooms. "So this is home from now on, huh?" Naruto thought to himself while getting ready for bed. "It doesn't seem that bad actually. I might actually enjoy this." Waking up from a good night's sleep, Naruto checked the time and saw it was 7 a.m. Getting out of his bed while rubbing his eyes, he walked into the bathroom and took a shower before getting dressed in his usual blue and orange getup and strapping his sword around his body. Walking to the kitchen, he saw his team eating breakfast and his sensei reading the newspaper while drinking coffee. Greeting everyone in the kitchen, he made himself a bowl of cereal after realizing there isn't any ramen and went to sit at the table. "So, did you sleep well, Naruto?" Kakashi asked, taking another sip of his coffee. "Sure did, Kakashi-sensei. Best sleep I've had in a while, actually," Naruto said, trying to take a look at Kakashi's face behind the paper, only to see him wearing a mask when he finally managed to get a glimpse. How did he drink his coffee? Naruto thought with a confused look on his face, not going unnoticed to a chuckling Kakashi. "What's so funny?" Sasuke asked after finishing his breakfast. "Oh, nothing," Kakashi replied with an eye smile, taking another sip of his coffee to Naruto's confusion. "Anyway, we start taking on missions today, so you best get ready." "Finally, I've been waiting for this. So what's our first mission going to be, Kakashi-sensei? Infiltration, an escort mission, or maybe clearing out a bandit camp?" Naruto asked, also finishing up his breakfast and putting it in the sink. "No, but you almost got it. Our first mission as Team 7 is..." 2 hours later. "How is this even close to infiltration, Kakashi-sensei?" Naruto asked, angry at his sensei for getting him exited for nothing. Currently, Team 7 was busy doing yard work, Sasuke cutting the grass, Hinata planting flowers, and Naruto painting the fence, while Kakashi just sat in a tree reading his orange book, which Naruto made the title out to be Icha Icha Paradise. "Well, what are you going to do when sent to another village for a long time span to gather information?" Kakashi asked, not even looking up from his book. "Well, I'm going to blend into the villagers and act like I'm one of them," Naruto replied while painting the fence. And how precisely are going to blend in? Kakashi asked again, this time taking a small glance at Naruto to see if he figured it out. Well, I guess I would try to. Naruto started but trailed off in his own thoughts. After realizing that he will need to find a job to blend in, Naruto mentally kicked himself and could have sworn he heard a small snickering at the back of his head. I see. Well then I guess I'll stop complaining for now, Naruto said laughing while finishing the last part of the fence. Hey Sasuke, it looks like I'm beating you this time, he added before turning around to see Sasuke sitting under the tree. Kakashi is done with cutting the grass. Looking at Hinata, he saw her walking towards him with a glass of water which he accepted after thanking her. 2 months have passed since Team 7 started taking on D-rank missions and everyone started getting tired of it, including Hinata and Kakashi, which was saying something seeing as Naruto never saw them get bored of anything. After all, Hinata was always kind to everyone and was the most patient of the Rookie 9, and Kakashi has been reading the same book for the past few months. After struggling with the most ferocious beast in Konoha, which is a cat named Tora, a beast which could even the green beats of Konoha, might guide a shame, Naruto had a meltdown in the Hokage's office and demanded a C-rank mission, and Kakashi agreed, reassuring Hiruzen of his team's capabilities. Well, if you truly believe in your squad's ability, then I guess you can have this new C-rank that just came in. I probably don't have to ask this, but as a policy I have to, so Kakashi Hatake, do you accept this mission for your Genin squad? Hiruzen asked, taking a puff of his pipe. I do, Kakashi answered in his usual monotone voice. Good. Then I suppose I can tell you the details. Your mission is to escort Tazuna the bridge builder to the Wave Country and protect him from bandits until he is finished building the bridge connecting the island to the mainland, the old Hokage said before calling in the client of the squad's newest mission. So this is team that's going to escort me to Wave, huh? I gotta say I'm not very impressed, Tazuna said, taking a sip of his sake. What did you just say, old man? It's not like you're much to look at either, Naruto said, jumping up from his sitting position and pointing a finger at their client. What was that, brat? Don't forget that I'm paying you to protect me. Got that, Tazuna replied, stomping closer to Naruto all the while looking him in the eyes. That's enough, both of you, Hiruzen screamed, finally getting annoyed at the two bickering. Fine, Tazuna and Naruto replied at the same time, turning their backs to each other. Well then, team, you can go home while I speak to our client about the details, Kakashi mixed in with an eye smile and a sweat drop rolling down his forehead. At the Team 7 compound, after training with his sword for about 2 hours, Naruto finally took a break and went to sit in the shade of a tree in the training ground and fell asleep. Waking up after hearing someone walking towards him. Opening his eyes, he saw Hinata crouching next to him, trying to wake him up. Oh hey Hinata-chan. How long was I out for? Naruto asked, sitting up and smiling at her. Oh, hello Naruto-kun. You were asleep for about 3 hours. I didn't want to wake, so I let you sleep. But Kakashi-sensei is back and wants to talk to the team, Hinata replied, barely hiding her blush from Naruto. Oh okay. Let's go then, Naruto said, standing up and holding his hand out to Hinata to help her up, which she hesitantly took. Arriving in the living room, Naruto and Hinata went to take a seat, waiting for Kakashi to start talking. Well, now that everyone is here, I can brief you in on the situation, Kakashi started. After explaining to his students what they need to take with them, how long the mission is going to take and what they should expect on the way, Kakashi dismissed the team for the rest of the day. Feeling his stomach rumble, Naruto asked if anyone wanted to go get some ramen with him, but Sasuke declined because he needed to get ready for the next day's mission, and Kakashi declined without giving any real reason other than saying he needs to be somewhere else, which only leaves Hinata. Hey Hinata-chan, wanna go grab some ramen with me? It's my treat, Naruto asked outside Hinata's closed room door. Not hearing a response, he thought that she might have fallen asleep and started walking away. But before he could walk out of the house, Naruto heard a bang and footsteps coming down the stairs. Before he could realize what was happening, he saw someone standing next to him. Looking at the sudden figure standing next to him, though she was looking at the ground, he saw it was Hinata. Oh, I thought you were sleeping, Hinata-chan. Naruto said, confused of how she was able to move so fast. I almost fell asleep, but I got hungry. She replied meekly, Naruto only being able to hear her because of his heightened senses. Well, if you're hungry, why don't you come get some ramen with me? Naruto asked again, this time noticing her blush. Hey Hinata, are you okay? You look a little red. You're not sick, are you? Naruto asked with concern in his voice. And no, I'm fine, and Naruto-kun. She replied, her voice a little louder this time. Well, if you say so, Hinata-chan. Just tell me if you start feeling weird. Anyway, are you ready to go, Hina-chan? Naruto asked, not noticing Hinata's reaction to his new nickname for her. Yes, I am ready to go, Naruto-kun. Not realizing that their conversation was being watched by a certain Uchiha and Cyclops, Naruto and Hinata started walking to Ichiraku's. How long do you think it will take him to realize, Kakashi-sensei? Sasuke asked with a smile on his face. I bet it will take a few years for him to start realizing, Kakashi replied while chuckling to himself. It just might, Sasuke replied with a chuckle. 10 minutes later, with Naruto and Hinata. Hey Hinata, I've been meaning to ask you a question, Naruto said, finally breaking the silence that's been hanging in the air since they started walking. Oh, what is it, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, finally looking Naruto in the eyes. Why do you always stutter when you're with me? He asked while looking away from her and scratching his cheek with his index finger. What? Oh, well, that's because I... Hinata started answering, jumping up from the sudden question. To be honest, it was the loudest Naruto ever heard her speak. Before Hinata could finish the answer, they were interrupted by 3 familiar faces. Oh, hey Naruto, are you here for some ramen too? Asked the heir to the Akamichi clan. I sure am, Choji. I'm hungry after today's mission. Well, we're not interrupting a date, are we? Ino asked, smiling at the arriving pair. And no, Naruto answered with a voice so soft everyone thought it was Hinata. Well, we won't mind if you join us. We're actually waiting for our sensei to arrive. Said he has some good news for us, Shikamaru said in his usual lazy voice. Taking a seat, Naruto and Hinata ordered their food before making small talk with the others and eventually told them about their C-rank mission the next day. No way, you get to do a C-rank only after 2 months after graduation. I bet it's because of Sasuke-kun, Ino said, surprised. Oh please, Sasuke isn't the only strong member of our team. Isn't that right, Hina-chan? Naruto asked, looking back at her, but the sight in front of him shocked him. Hearing Naruto give a small gasp, everyone looked at Hinata and saw that she ate almost double the amount of ramen Naruto did, which was no easy feat. How did you? Naruto started but began to shed a tear. Did I do something wrong? And Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, blushing and scared. No, you didn't do anything wrong, Hina-chan. I just never thought that I'd see the day that anyone would eat more than me is all, Naruto said, starting to smile again, making the Hyuga blush even more. After 20 more minutes, Team 8's sensei, Asuma Sarutobi, arrived at the stand. Finally, where were you, Asuma-sensei? We've been waiting for an hour, Ino said, starting to go off on her sensei for being late. Just wait until you meet Kakashi-sensei, Naruto thought to himself with a small chuckle. Oh hey Naruto, didn't see you there. How's your day been? Asuma asked, trying to ignore Ino's screeching. Hey Asuma-senpai, my day's been good. We're even going on a C-rank mission tomorrow. How's your day been? Naruto replied with a sweat drop on his forehead. A C-rank, huh? And here I was thinking we were the ONL. Asuma started but cut himself off before he revealed too much to another team. What was that? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Oh, it's nothing. Anyway, do you mind if I sit down next to my students? I have to discuss something with them, Asuma asked while scratching the back of his head. Actually, we were just on our way back to our team compound, Naruto replied while he and Hinata stood up and paying for both his and her food. I see. Well, enjoy the rest of your night, Naruto and Hinata. You too, Asuma-sama. Naruto and Hinata replied, bidding their goodbyes to Team 8. Walking back to the compound, the pair talked about anything that came to their minds, making Naruto realize that Hinata didn't stutter as much as she did just an hour ago. But he didn't mention it in fear of it coming back, though he must admit that it made her seem cuter. Finally arriving at their home, Naruto bid Hinata good night before going into his room and falling asleep, just waiting for the next day to come. Waking up, Naruto went to take a shower, got dressed, and went to the kitchen to get breakfast. Seeing that Kakashi wasn't there, he decided to prank his sensei until Sasuke spoke up. "What are you doing, dope?" Sasuke asked after finishing his breakfast. "I'm putting up a trap for Kakashi-sensei," Naruto said with a foxy grin. "He's not here. He said he had some things to do before we go to Wave, and we have to meet up with him at the village gate at 1 p.m. Sasuke said before going back to his room. "Damn. Guess I'll just have to get him when we get back to the village," Naruto mumbled to himself. "Or maybe I can get him when we're at Wave," he thought, making him smile even more. In a bookstore at the other side of the village, a certain pirate ninja got a shiver up his spine before picking up the newest volume of Icha Paradise. 4 hours later, village gates. After waiting for 2 hours for their sensei to arrive, Naruto stood up to go get some ramen while waiting, when Kakashi finally arrived. "Where are you going, Naruto?" Kakashi asked with an eye smile. "When did you—" "Never mind. Let's just get going," Naruto said, sighing in defeat. Finally starting their first C-rank mission and stepping out of the village for the first time, Naruto couldn't help but giggle to himself. "Are you okay, Naruto-kun?" Hinata asked, hearing a sound coming from the flame-haired boy. "Sure am, Hinata. In fact, I'm better than okay," Naruto replied while still giggling, making Hinata blush when he looked at her. After walking for what felt like 5 hours, Naruto saw a puddle at the side of the road. Feeling that something was wrong, Naruto walked up beside Kakashi and asked him when it last rained. So he noticed it too, huh? Kakashi thought to himself. "About 2 weeks ago, and you know what that means, right?" Kakashi replied in a whisper, getting a nod from Naruto. Falling back, Naruto informed Hinata and Sasuke to get ready for a fight. After giving a few steps past the puddle, 2 missing Nin from Kirikagure jumped out and attacked Kakashi, wrapping the chain that connected the 2 shinobi's arms around Kakashi and splitting him apart to Team 7's horror. Thinking fast, Naruto and Sasuke engaged the 2 while Hinata covered Tazuna with her Byakugan activated to make sure there wasn't anyone else to ambush them. Blocking an incoming attack from one of the demon brothers, Naruto drew his sword and cut the hand off of one of the demon brothers, making him go after Naruto, allowing Naruto and Sasuke to each take on a brother. Taking on the brother named Gozu, Naruto had his work cut out for him. Barely blocking a slash towards his throat, Naruto jumped back before lunging towards his opponent again, swinging his sword towards Gozu's left knee to limit his movement. Seeing what Naruto was attempting, Gozu blocked the swing with his bladed gauntlet on his left hand and kicked Naruto in the stomach before swinging towards the orange-clad shinobi's head to cut it open, but heard a poof when it made contact. "What the hell? The kid can create solid clones?" he thought to himself before getting kicked in his face by a foot with a blue sandal before falling unconscious. Elsewhere, the other demon brother, Meizu, blocked, deflected an incoming arrow coming from Sasuke before trying to dash towards the raven-haired boy, failing miserably. "Damn, I can't get in range to attack the brat, but maybe I can use his friend to get close to him, seeing as Gozu probably beat him already," Meizu thought with a smirk while turning to see that Naruto already beat his brother. "Gozu, you damn brat, what did you do to my brother?" he screamed, dashing towards the unexpected Naruto, turning to see someone coming at him with breakneck speed. "Damn, I don't have enough time to block," Naruto thought, seeing that Meizu already swung his bladed gauntlet on his right hand towards Naruto's neck, but heard a swoosh and metal clashing against each other and a loud groan before someone hit the ground. Opening his eyes, Naruto saw Sasuke over him with his hand out. Taking his hand, Naruto was pulled of the ground and saw Meizu unconscious on the ground with a kunai in his hip and a red mark on his cheek. which Naruto assumed was formed by a fist. "You're not hurt, are you? Scaredy cat?" Sasuke asked with a grin, making Naruto grow a tick mark. "I wasn't scared. I was just caught off guard," Naruto replied in before stomping off towards Tazuna. "Hey old man, what are you?" Naruto started but was cut off when a familiar hand clasped his shoulder. "Naruto, let me handle this. You did good, all of you," Kakashi said, appearing out of nowhere. "Kakashi-sensei, you're alive?" Naruto asked, his eyes so white he could be mistaken as a Hyuga if not for his red and blonde hair. He didn't know was still alive yet. He continued to fight. I can understand Sasuke after his brother wiped out most of their clan, only leaving children, infants, elderly, and a young woman who's been in a coma ever since, Kakashi thought while giving Naruto an eye smile and scratching the back of his head. "Yeah, I wanted to see who they were, and it looks like my suspicion was right." Kakashi started taking on a more serious tone while turning to look at Tazuna. "So care to tell us what it is you're hiding, Tazuna?" Kakashi said. All humor that could be found in his voice a moment prior was gone. Alright, I guess I should come clean. But before I do, have you ever heard of Gatu?" Tazuna asked. "The billionaire shipping magnate?" Kakashi asked with a raised eyebrow. "That's the one. For about 10 years now he's been buying ports that Wave used as an income, but when he finally bought them all, our economy dropped drastically. He began to take advantage of our lack of money and started to kidnap some of the villagers to sell as slaves. He even paid some of us to test his experimental drugs," Tazuna stated, not looking Kakashi in the face. "And because of that I had to pay for a C-rank mission, full well knowing it was at least an A rank. But I guess I'll just have to go home and tell my poor daughter and grandson that the evil hidden leaf shinobi refused to help us," Tazuna said, making the whole Team 7 sweat drop. "Well, it's up to you if you want us to continue with the mission," Kakashi spoke up after a few minutes of silence while turning to look at his team. "You kidding, Kakashi-sensei? It's an A-rank mission," Naruto said in a serious tone. "I vote we go. After all, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Or twice in my case," Naruto said, his signature grin crawling back onto his face. "I'm with Naruto. There's no way I'm giving up on my first A-rank mission," Sasuke mixed in, also grinning. "And me too," Hinata answered, also starting to give a small smile. After investigating the Demon Brothers, Team 7 and their client continued their long trek to Wave. After almost 3 days of traveling and a long boat ride, they arrived at the land of Wave. Walking past some bushes, both Naruto and Sasuke threw some shuriken at a shrub of bushes when it moved, but in closer inspection they saw it was only a little white rabbit. But before they could do anything else, Kakashi quickly ordered them all to duck down. Doing as his sensei ordered, Naruto barely dodged a sword swing over his head before traveling about another 12 meters and lodging itself in a tree. Blinking his eyes, he saw a man suddenly appearing on the hilt of the sword. The man wore purple baggy pants with tiny black stripes running down it, cow leather arm and leg warmers, white bandages covering his mouth, and his headband tied around his head with the forehead protector covering the left side of his head. "Kakashi-sensei, who is that?" Hinata asked, looking at the man that seemed to appear out of nowhere. "Zabuza Momochi, but if you want to use my title, then you can call the Demon of the Hidden Mist." Zabuza answered before Kakashi could get a word out. "Naruto, Sasuke, Hinata, go cover Tazuna. Leave Zabuza to me," Kakashi screamed, making Naruto and Sasuke dash towards Hinata and Tazuna and getting into a defensive formation. Forming the ox, snake, and ram hand seal the area around Naruto, Hinata, Sasuke, and Tazuna was enveloped by a thick layer of mist, causing the team to lose sight of Zabuza. Feeling the bloodlust Zabuza gave off, Sasuke was slowly giving in and was about to slit his own throat with the kunai he was using. But before he could follow through, he heard Kakashi talk to him. "Sasuke, calm down. I won't let my comrades die. I promise." Finally calming down, Sasuke realized what he was about to do and lowered his kunai. After seeing Sasuke calm down at their sensei's words, Naruto went back to trying and find Zabuza, when he started to hear an extra heartbeat between his team and client. Turning around slowly, he saw Zabuza standing in front of his client, but looking at him with a face Naruto knew people only made when they were impressed with something. Taking out his sword, Naruto tried stabbing Zabuza, but was blocked by the missing Nin's sword before being kicked by a cow leather-covered foot in the ribs and sent flying into a nearby tree. Realizing that Zabuza was fighting with his team, Kakashi body flickered towards them, but was shocked at the sight before him. Sasuke was laying on the ground unconscious with a broken arm but was still alive. Hinata was over him trying to fix his arm, and Naruto was dueling Zabuza in a sword fight, though he was beaten pretty badly already. Kakashi could see all the places Zabuza cut Naruto, which was about 16 cuts in total, and could see Naruto also managed to get 3 cuts on his enemy as well, which wasn't a lot, but it was deep, and in Kakashi's opinion it was still pretty impressive for the difference in their skill. Deciding to take over for his student before Zabuza decided to get serious, Kakashi took out his own Tanto from his time in ANBU and rushed towards Zabuza before he slashed towards his enemy's hand to disarm him and give Naruto enough time to retreat. Though he was blocked, Naruto still managed to take Tazuna and run towards Hinata and Sasuke. Seeing the state Sasuke was in because of Zabuza's surprise attack, Naruto formed the Ram Hand Seal and created 5 shadow clones to help protect Tazuna and Sasuke. Narrowly blocking a horizontal slash from the large sword, Kakashi charged forward and cut one of Zabuza's arms, making the missing Nin drop his weapon, but not before he hit Kakashi's own sword out of hand, causing them to continue the battle with ninjutsu and taijutsu. Removing the piece of cloth covering his left eye, Kakashi revealed the Sharingan, the most feared dojutsu in the elemental nations because of its ability to copy any ninjutsu, as long as it uses hand seals or isn't a Kekkai Genkai, taijutsu, and detect many high-level genjutsu. So you finally think I'm worthy enough to fight the legendary Kakashi of the Sharingan seriously? Zabuza asked, his face taking a form under his mask that Kakashi could only think was a smile. Don't flatter yourself. I'm just not in the mood to drag out the fight, Kakashi replied in a matter-of-factly tone, earning a small chuckle from his enemy. Is that so? Then let's get this over with, Zabuza said, his voice taking a slightly more serious before both he and Kakashi launched at each other, meeting each other halfway. Naruto had managed to bandage Sasuke's arm with the help of Hinata. They were still guarding Tazuna, but Naruto was watching his sensei's fight with the former Kirinin. Mesmerized by the jutsu both sides threw at each other, not realizing Hinata trying to get his attention until she waved a hand in front of his face. What is it, Hinata? Naruto suddenly asked, making Hinata jump. I can sense someone in the forest. They're just standing there, not moving. They might be an enemy, Hinata blurted out before Naruto could register what she had said. How long can you keep your Byakugan activated? Naruto asked, momentarily forgetting about the battle. About 3 minutes before I reach my limit, Hinata replied, blushing at the serious look on his face. Tell me when they start to move, Naruto said, not noticing the blush on his teammate's face. Hearing a groan from behind him, Naruto looked back and saw Sasuke sitting up and looking confused as to where he was. After telling his dark-haired teammate about the last few minutes of events, Naruto looked back at the fight between Kakashi and Zabuza, but to his horror saw Zabuza forming a few hand seals before Kakashi was trapped in a ball of water, not able to get out. Seeing Naruto and Sasuke rush towards him, Kakashi, somehow able to talk through the water, ordered them to take the client and run, but was ignored. Seeing the 2 genin rushing to save their sensei, Zabuza created 2 water clones that stood between them, ready for the Konoha pair to engage them in a fight. Rushing towards the first clone, Naruto and Sasuke started to fight, their moves perfectly blending together even when neither of them spoke a word to each other. After what felt like a minute of defending and attacking, they managed to dispel the clone before the other clone started rushing towards them. Creating about 60 clones, the Naruto's dog piled onto the Zabuza clone in an attempt to subdue him, but all of them were launched into the air not even 10 seconds later. When flying through the air, the original Naruto turned into a demon wind shuriken before falling into his closest clone's backpack and dispelling the rest to make Zabuza think the only clone left was the original. After landing again, the clone nodded his head to Sasuke before throwing him the hinged version of Naruto, which Sasuke caught and threw towards the Zabuza clone, but before it could hit him it curved and flew towards the original clone that held Kakashi in the water prison. Seeing the incoming attack, Zabuza jumped into the air, his right hand still in the ball of water as to not release the silver-haired Jonin. But to his surprise, the shuriken transformed into the flame-haired boy, who swung his sword towards Zabuza's arm, causing the missing nin to let go of the water ball and freeing Kakashi. After ordering Naruto to fall back with Sasuke and protect Tazuna with Hinata, Kakashi continued his fight. Restarting their fight a few meters off the shore, Kakashi made the exact same hand seals as Zabuza, at the same time letting the missing nin think that the Sharingan could also be used to read minds. Quickening the movements of his hands to beat Kakashi, Zabuza was horrified to see his enemy do the same, and after a few seconds of non-stop hand seals, two blobs of water in the form of dragons came out of the lake on either sides of the battle and charged at each other before slamming into each other and causing a huge wave to take Zabuza in its currents before slamming him into a tree, paralyzing him from his waist down. "Well, it looks like you just lost, Zabuza," Kakashi said, appearing on a branch of the tree Zabuza slammed into. "It looks like it. Before you finish this, I have a question," Zabuza said, chuckling at his defeat. "Ask away. I have a mission to complete," Kakashi replied with harsh words but a somber tone. "That eye of yours, can it read minds?" Zabuza asked, still chuckling at the silliness of the question. Giving a small chuckle of his own before taking a more serious tone, he answered, "It can. And what it sees now is that this is your last battle." "I like that, a nice answer for a worthy opponent. Well, get it over with, Sharingan hero," Zabuza said, closing his eyes and letting out a deep breath. Before Kakashi could go for the kill, a senbon needle lodged itself into the neck of the missing nin, causing his head to lump forward as a hunter nin from Kirigakure appeared, thanked Kakashi and his team for their help in killing the shinobi he was tracking for a while, took Zabuza and body flickered away. "Who was that?" Sasuke asked while he and Naruto were busy holding each other up. "It looked like a hunter nin from Kiri," Naruto replied before flinching at the pain from sitting down for Hinata to bandaging him up. "Hey Hina-chan, what happened to the guy watching the fight?" Naruto asked, not noticing everyone look at all the scars on his body as he took of his jacket and shirt. "Oh, WLW was the hunter nin that just took Zabuza," Hinata stuttered out, looking away to hide her blush. "Oh no. Don't tell me something's wrong with Hina again," Naruto thought to himself after seeing her cheeks turn red. "Hey Dope, what happened to you?" Sasuke asked the question on everyone's mind, though Kakashi knew he had some scars from when he was assigned to watch over the boy when he was younger and Kakashi was in the ANBU. It wasn't as much as it is now. "What are you talking about, Sasuke? We just fought a Jonin-level shinobi. Of course I'm going to need some patching up," Naruto asked, turning his head sideways, which made Hinata blush more, thinking he looked cute. "I'm not talking about that, Dope. I'm talking about the scars on your body," Sasuke said, pointing at Naruto's arms, torso and back. Realizing that everyone was looking at him, Naruto's smile dropped for only a second, not going unnoticed to Kakashi, before he started smiling again and answering his teammate. "Oh, this? I got most of them training my swordsmanship with my brother." "What do you mean most of them? Where did you get the rest, and who was your brother?" Sasuke asked, but before the flame-haired boy could answer, Kakashi interrupted them when he saw the fear in Naruto's eyes grow with each question asked. "Okay, it's about time we continue with the mission. Tazuna, how close are we to your house?" Kakashi asked, hoping to get Sasuke's attention off Naruto. "We're really close now, only about another mile or two away," Tazuna replied, making Kakashi sigh in relief. "Well, that's good. Now you won't have to carry me that far," Kakashi said with an eye smile as he turned to his team, but before they could ask what he meant, Kakashi passed out due to chakra exhaustion. After almost 20 minutes of walking, Team 7 finally arrived at Tazuna's house, and it seemed like Sasuke completely forgot about his loudmouth teammate as he went to sleep. Dropping his sensei in one of the guest rooms, Naruto went to examine his wounds but was unsurprised to see that all his cuts had already healed. He always did heal much faster than normal people ever since he was a kid, but was a bit annoyed that it left more scars on his body. Hearing a knock on the door, Naruto opened it to reveal a blushing Hinata. Hello Naruto-kun. I was asked to tell you that dinner will be served soon." "Thanks Hina-chan, I'll be down in a second. Anything else?" Naruto replied, a gentle smile on his face as he talked to his female teammate. And no, actually, how are your wounds, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, blushing more as she just realized that Naruto was shirtless. Oh, they're already healed up, so I'm good as new and ready to fight again, Naruto said, scratching the back of his head as he smiled at Hinata. What? How can you heal so fast, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, finally looking Naruto in the eyes and her blush fading in surprise. Well, Hokage said that all Uzumaki heal faster than other shinobi, and that I apparently heal fast even than Uzumaki standards for some reason. It's probably because of my large chakra reserves. Anyway, Ajiken said that it can help me get stronger because I need less rest because of it. I don't even know the limit of my healing capabilities. The only downside is that any wounds leave scars after they heal. Naruto replied to the poor Hyuga, who barely managed to keep up with his words. I see how that can greatly benefit your tea training. But you need to be careful not to hurt yourself. Otherwise you'll only get more scars, Hinata stated in a worried tone. Well, I'll keep that in mind, Hina-chan, but you don't have to worry about me. I can handle myself, Naruto said, confused as to why Hinata would care so much about him. Realizing what she said, Hinata continued to blush but still talked on. It doesn't matter if you can handle it, Naruto-kun. You still need to keep your body healthy. What if you train so hard that it takes you longer than you expected to heal and we can't take missions for a while? Or worse, what if we need to fight and you can't because you haven't recovered yet? She said, taking both herself and Naruto by surprise. Sure, Hinata. I'll take my training easier. I promise, Naruto said while looking away, this time his turn to blush at the seriousness of the Hyuga girl's eyes. After putting on his shirt and jacket again, Naruto went down to eat his dinner. Thanking the bridge builder's daughter, Tsunami, for the delicious dinner, Naruto walked to the door ready to get some training in, but when he turned to tell anyone who was listening where he was going, he saw a pouting Hinata, trying to look angry, so he decided to just go to sleep and train the next morning. Waking up after hearing his stomach growl, Naruto went downstairs to get some food and saw his team sitting around the table with Tazuna, Tsunami, and a kid about 3 years younger than Naruto. Okay, so Tazuna is going to continue on his bridge in 3 days, which gives us 3 days to train and get ready for Zabuza before we have to continue with the mission, Kakashi stated, making the lingering sleepiness of the Genin squad disappear. But didn't you kill Zabuza, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked in surprise. Nope, it was that Hunter Nin from Kiri, if you could remember. But the thing is, Hunter Nin are supposed to deal with the corpse of a missing Nin as soon as they get their hands on them, Kakashi answered in a serious tone, causing a shiver to go up everyone in the house's spine. When do you think he will come back, Kakashi-sensei? Hinata asked, fear evident in her voice. About a week at most, Kakashi answered, giving an eye smile before adding, which is why I'm going to train you. Yes, finally. I've been waiting forever. Both Naruto and Sasuke screamed, earning a hit on their heads from Tazuna, making Hinata giggle at the antics of her teammates, and the kid to run upstairs and into his room, leaving a confused team behind. What's his problem? Naruto asked, looking at a shrugging Sasuke. Oh, don't mind him. He's been like that ever since his father died, Tsunami said with a small forced smile on her face. Finishing up their food, Naruto and Sasuke rushed to the door to go train. Sasuke went first, but before Naruto went out, he looked back at the young Hyuga with a pleading look on his face, much to the confusion of Kakashi and Tazuna and the amusement of Tsunami and a nodding Hinata before the flame-haired boy regained his smile and ran into the forest to train. What was that about? Kakashi asked with a raised eyebrow. Oh, nothing, Tsunami answered for the giggling pale-eyed Kunoichi. Going outside, Kakashi saw Naruto waiting for him to start their training and Sasuke just sitting under a tree looking like he fell asleep. Okay, let's get started with your training, shall we? Kakashi said, making Naruto jump in joy. Sasuke stand up with a smirk on his face and Hinata getting a determined look on her face. So what are you going to teach us, Kakashi-sensei? Some cool new jutsu or how to move around without being detected? Naruto asked with his usual grin and a glint in his eyes. Nope, what I'm going to teach you is much better than any of that. What we're doing today is… You know what, Kakashi-sensei? I don't think I like you, Naruto said as he and Sasuke lay on the ground near two different trees and Hinata in another one giggling at what Naruto said and Kakashi's reaction of squatting down and holding his knees with one arm and making circles in the ground with a finger of his other arm, which was strange seeing as he needed his crutches to move, and mumbling to himself, why do my students have to be so mean? Team 7 was currently busy trying to climb trees without using their hands, which made everyone confused until Kakashi decided to explain that they had to channel chakra into their feet to stick to the surfaces of the tree. Hinata, do you mind helping them while I go inside? You seem to be able to handle this exercise better than them? Kakashi asked, finally standing up. Okay, Kakashi-sensei, I will try. Hinata replied a few seconds after coming over his shock. Thanks, I'll be back later, Kakashi said before turning around and slowly walking towards the house, disappearing into the house a few minutes later. So, Hina-chan, got any tips for me? Naruto asked after standing up and putting his hands behind his back. Let me and Naruto-kun, Hinata said while activating her Byakugan. See, can you try going up the tea tree again? Channeling some of his chakra to his feet, Naruto run up his designated tree and made it 6 feet before falling again. So what do you think, Hina-chan? Naruto asked with a nervous smile. And maybe try adding less chakra to your F feet. You're using 2M much, causing your chakra to L launch you A away from the S surface. Hinata explained, trying not to make Naruto feel dumb like the academy teachers. Okay, I'll try, Hina-chan. Naruto replied, determination on his face. Channeling a bit less chakra to his feet than he had before he began running again, making his usual 6 feet, then 7 and 8 and 9, but before he could make 10 feet he lost concentration and slipped, grabbing onto a nearby branch before he could fall to the floor. Yahoo! It worked! Naruto yelled in excitement, pumping his fists into the air. Thanks, Hina-chan, he added, looking down at the giggling girl. And no problem, and Naruto-kun, Hinata replied once Naruto jumped to the ground. But to her surprise, he swept her up in a big hug, spun her around a few times and placed her on the ground. After Hinata registered what happened, her face turned a deep shade of red, resembling a tomato, before she passed out, much to the confusion of Naruto and amusement of Sasuke. Well, I guess I'll just have to figure it out myself this time around, Sasuke said with a sigh. What are you taking about, Sasuke? We need to get her inside to get checked, Naruto said with eyes as wide as dinner plates before picking her up and running off to the house, disappearing a few seconds later. Yep, it's definitely going to take a few years for the dope to realize what's happening there, Sasuke thought to himself while smirking before continuing with the exercise. -6 hours later. Hey team, it's dinner time, come in or you don't eat, Kakashi yelled from inside the house. What? Naruto yelled in response, the only thought going through his head being not being able to eat. Running inside the house, followed by his team, Naruto quickly took a seat at the table, much to the amazement of Kakashi, who was still standing in the doorway. He's as fast as his father when food's involved. Maybe he's as talented when it comes to training, Kakashi thought with a light chuckle. After waiting for about 20 minutes, the food was finally being served and the remaining occupants were called down. Hey Kakashi-sensei, we almost made it to the top of the tree today, Naruto said after a few minutes of awkward silence. Is that so? Kakashi asked, slight surprise evident in his voice. Sure is, Sasuke chirped with clear pride in his tone. Though we couldn't have done it without Hina-chan's help, Naruto added, making Sasuke's pride deflate a bit at the words, and Hinata to turn red again. Before anyone could say anything else, they heard a small whisper asking why. Looking around, Naruto realized it came from Inari, who sat opposite him. Why what? Naruto asked, turning his head sideways in confusion. Why do you even try when you'll fail? Gato will just kill you like he killed everyone else. He makes people suffer, but I doubt you even know what that is, Inari yelled, tears falling down his face. You doubt that we know what suffering is, huh? And what makes you think that? Naruto asked, a cold calmness in his voice that his team never heard before. Well, Inari started but was cut off. Do you think we've never lost someone close to us, that we've never been left for death after an hour of beatings, that we've never almost starved to death after not having anything to eat for weeks except for scraps found in the trash cans outside restaurants, that we've never yearned for the love of a parent? The truth is, kid, I would give my life to have a one like yours, but we don't go around complaining over things that's long passed by. Instead, we work as hard as we can to better our future. Naruto continued before standing up and walking towards the door. Thank you for the dinner, Tsunami-san. It was delicious, he added before walking out to continue his training. He's not making any of that up, is he? Tazuna asked with sorrow in his voice. Actually, that doesn't even scrap the surface of what he had to go through because of our villagers. Kakashi replied, the anger in his voice obvious. Why would the people of our own village do that to one of their own? Especially a kid, Kakashi-sensei? Sasuke asked with disgust towards his home. That's not something I can tell you, Kakashi answered, finishing up his dinner and walking off towards his room. The next morning, walking around the forest, a kid not much older than Naruto was walking around the forest picking some herbs used in healing. She came across a young boy with hair that reminded her of Torch. Hey, wake up. You'll get sick in this cold, she said, trying to shake the boy awake, not noticing him letting go of a kunai behind his back. Opening his eyes, Naruto saw a sight that made him blush. Standing over him was a beautiful girl with long dark hair, brown eyes, and pale skin. She wore a pink kimono decorated with flowers with a green belt around her waist. Who's this chick? Naruto thought at the welcome sight. So you're still alive, huh? The girl asked. My name is Haku, what's yours? She added. Naruto Obito Uzumaki. Naruto stated, his blush gone and replaced by his usual grin. What are you doing sleeping out here this early in the morning, Naruto? The now named Haku asked in curiosity. I must have dozed off while training last night, Naruto replied, scratching the back of his head. What about you? He asked, also curious about the young girl. Oh, well, I was picking some herbs to heal my father. He was injured while in the process of being robbed. Thankfully, he was able to get out with his life, though I did hear him mumble something about his pride, Haku said, chuckling as she remembered the last part. I'm sorry to hear that. Here, let me help you out, Naruto offered while standing up. Picking the herbs the girl needed for the healing cream she wanted to make, that made small talk until Haku asked, You said you were training. But what are you trying to get stronger for? What do you mean? Naruto asked, cocking his head sideways. There are many reasons to get stronger, and I want to know yours, Haku stated. I never really thought about it. I guess to become the Hokage, Naruto said while rubbing his chin. And what happens after you become Hokage? What will you do with the power of a village leader? Haku pushed. I guess I'll use it to protect the village and those precious to me, Naruto replied, a rare glint of seriousness in his eyes. Then you will become truly strong, Naruto, Haku said with a smile as she stood up. I have enough herbs now, so I'll be off. Oh, and I'm a boy, by the way, Haku said, chuckling at Naruto's reaction to the last part. I see, Naruto replied, laughing at his mistake. Oh, and Haku, do me a favor and try to convince Zabuza to give up on killing the bridge builder, Naruto added before walking away, causing Haku to sigh before smiling and walking away. Back at Tazuna's home. Walking into the house, Naruto saw Kakashi going over some files. Mornin', Kakashi-sensei. What are you reading? Naruto asked, looking over his sensei's shoulders. Morning, Naruto. I'm going over some plans for your training. There are some things I want to try with each of you when we get back to the village, like exploring that mysterious shadow ability of yours, and helping Sasuke and Hinata with their dojutsu, Kakashi explained. Oh, well, let's get this mission over with, you know? Naruto said excitedly, not realizing that his tick made its way back after being gone for so long, making Kakashi chuckle at the similarity of Naruto and his mother. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, Naruto said, finally calming down. I ran into that fake hunter Nin in the forest. From what I could tell about what he said, Zabuza will come after us in about 4 days at most, he finished. Is that so? You didn't fight him, did you? Kakashi asked, still looking at the papers. No, he wasn't hostile, so I let him go. Naruto replied. Good, because you're gonna need your strength for today's training. Oh yeah, speaking of training, I made it to the top of the tree today, Naruto said with pride. You made it to the top of the tree in just 2 days. Kakashi almost yelled in surprise, finally looking away from the papers in his hands. Sure did. So what's next? Naruto asked with a smile on his face. I don't know, maybe I can teach you a jutsu or maybe water walking. Kakashi replied, mostly mumbling the last suggestions to himself. I pick a jutsu, Naruto yelled, bringing Kakashi out of his thoughts. A jutsu, huh? Well, I guess you'll need a trump card for the coming battle, Kakashi said before sighing at the realization of what he got himself into. 3 days later, Naruto slept in because of his chakra exhaustion while his team took Tazuna to continue with the bridge. Hearing a crash and scream from downstairs, Naruto got out of bed to investigate. Peeking around a corner, he saw 2 men. Naruto assumed were sent by Gato. Taking Tsunami, and Inari was laying on the floor groaning in pain as he clenched his stomach. Walking on the wall and making his way to the ceiling, Naruto quietly made his way over the 2 men before dropping on them and knocking them unconscious. Are you okay, Tsunami-sama? Naruto asked while helping said woman up. Why, yes I am. Thank you, Naruto-san. Tsunami answered before turning to her injured son in a panic. Don't worry too much about him, they only knocked out his wind. He'll be back up in about a minute or 2. I have to get back to my team. Will you be alright, Tsunami-sama? Naruto asked, getting ready to leave for the bridge. Yes, we'll be fine. You may go to your team, she replied, relieved that her son will be okay. Running as fast as he could, Naruto arrived at the bridge in about 5 minutes, just in time to see Sasuke, who stood in a dome of ice mirrors, get hit with a senbon needle in the shoulder. Seeing Hinata protecting Tazuna, he ran over to her to get information on the situation. Getting everything he needed, he created 6 shadow clones, 4 to protect their client and 2 to try and help Hinata destroy the ice dome from outside, while the original Naruto entered the dome to help Sasuke. Sup, Sasuke? Need any help? Naruto asked, appearing next to the unexpected Sasuke. The hell are you thinking, dope? You should have tried to destroy the mirrors from the outside. Sasuke managed out in between heavy breaths and grunts of pain. I have 2 clones working on that with Hinata outside, Naruto stated in a calm voice, trying to come up with a plan to get him and Sasuke out of the dome. Hey Haku-san, I don't suppose you'd just let us out of here, would you? Naruto asked, scratching the back of his head, not noticing the surprised look on Sasuke's face. You know I can't do that, but I'll be sure to make it painless, Naruto-san, Haku stated in a monotone voice. Not able to come up with a plan, Naruto opted to fight and defend while Hinata tried to destroy the ice from outside. After defending from another barrage of senbon needles, Naruto got tired of waiting. Any progress, Hinata? Naruto yelled. And not yet. Any damage I make keeps regenerating. I see, can't even use the Jaijutsu splitting technique from my family, Hinata said, almost crying at the thought of not being able to save her teammates. Seeing that Naruto was distracted, the Hunter Nin threw another barrage at the flame-haired boy, only to be surprised when Sasuke threw himself in the way, taking all the damage himself. Realizing what happened, Naruto caught Sasuke before he could fall on the ground. What the hell were you thinking? Why did you jump in the way of the attack? Naruto asked in shock at the sight of his dying teammate. I don't know, my B-body just moved on its own, Sasuke replied in between coughs of blood. Feeling rage swell up inside him at the sight of his dead comrade and friend, Naruto let out a chakra that made everyone on the village's blood run cold. As a cause of this evil chakra, Naruto's nails and teeth grew, resembling that of the claws and fangs of a fox, his whisker marks being more pronounced and his eyes turning red with fox-like slits as the pupils. Letting out a deep roar, Naruto charged towards the Hunter Nin at a blinding speed, crashing his fist into the seemingly unbreakable ice mirror, shattering it and knocking the nin out, causing his mask and ice dome to shatter at the same time. "I'll kill you!" Naruto roared, going for another punch on Haku and slamming his fist into Haku's face, dislocating his jaw and causing him to fall unconscious, but not before hearing what sounded like 1,000 birds chirping. Not far from where Naruto and Haku fought, Kakashi was in a clash with Zabuza, neither able to gain the upper hand. "I'll get you back for what you did to me, Copy Nin," Zabuza said while blocking a slash from Kakashi, before slashing at the Copy Nin's arm himself. "Is that so? Guess I'll just have to be careful," Kakashi replied before going to swipe Zabuza's legs out from under him. Jumping just before his legs could be swiped out from under him, Zabuza got a fist in the stomach, sending him to the floor, but before Kakashi could slice open his throat, he blocked and parried by kicking Kakashi in the stomach, giving him enough time to get up and charge at his opponent with a horizontal strike to his gut. Barely deflecting the lethal blow to his stomach, Kakashi managed to stab Zabuza in the left shoulder before forming a few hand seals for a jutsu. Raitun, Reiju Tsuga. When Kakashi finished the hand seal, a wolf made from lightning shot from his hand and charged at Zabuza and holding him down long enough to charge up one of his original jutsu. "Chidori!" Kakashi screamed as lightning formed around his hand, sounding like 1,000 birds chirping at the same time, and slammed it into one of Zabuza's lungs, who barely managed to dodge it from hitting him in the heart. "I guess I lost, huh?" Zabuza asked as blood poured out of his mouth. "Yeah, it seems like it," Kakashi asked, pulling his hand out of the dying man's chest. Hearing someone clapping their hands, Kakashi and Zabuza looked over to see the forms of about 200 men as the mist cleared around them. "Gato," Zabuza said, earning a sigh from Kakashi. "Come now, Zabuza, you couldn't even kill a few brats. You truly were a waste of money. Not that I plan to pay you either way," Gato said, earning a few laughs from his men. "Well, I guess we can kill the rest of you on our own. Right, boys?" one of the men asked, earning cheers from everyone else. "Damn, I don't have enough energy to fight them all, let alone handle Naruto with. I can't believe the fox had to make himself known now of all times. I'm sorry, Sensei, but I can't save my team or your son," Kakashi thought with sorrow. Curious as to what that chirping noise was, Naruto went to investigate, albeit in his feral form. After arriving at the source of the sound, Naruto saw a downed Kakashi and dying Zabuza, when he heard someone talking at the end of the bridge. Looking at the source of the voice, Naruto saw a balding short man in a dirty white suit with a cane. Hearing Zabuza mutter the words "Gato," Naruto lost even more control over his consciousness. He went to attack when he saw that all 200 men standing next to the tall man charge at them. Charging at the army of mercenaries, Naruto drew his sword and unconsciously channeled the chakra of the fox through his sword, setting it ablaze and sliced through 74 men before dropping his sword and slashing through the rest of the men with his enlarged nails. Seeing what his student was doing, Kakashi couldn't help but fear what Naruto will go through once he comes to his senses. After about a minute of hacking and slashing, Naruto managed to tear through all the men until only Gato was left. Walking towards the short man, the scent of urine managed to overpower the strong scent of iron from the blood, causing the feral Naruto to give an unusual grin, which only caused Gato to fear for his life more than he already did. To Gato's relief, a small voice called out to Naruto, causing him to calm down when he realized who it was. Looking over, he saw Hinata with a fearful look on her face and tears rolling down her cheeks. "Hinata," Naruto said before falling unconscious, making Hinata take a step forward but stopping once Gato took one of his dead men's weapons and holding it near the blue-eyed boy's neck. Not so fast, Missy, he's coming with em." Gato started but was stopped when a senbon needle lodged itself in his shoulder, causing him to drop the weapon and stammer backwards. "Leave him alone, you're mine to do with as I please," came the cold voice of Haku as she came out of the dissipating mist. -6 hours later / Tezuna's house. Waking up, Naruto looked around to see that he was in his bed at Tezuna's house. He was confused as to what caused him to pass out, when the events of what happened after Sasuke died in his arms hit him like a brick. Running to the bathroom as fast as he could, he threw up in the toilet at the remembrance of how he tore through the men with his bare hands, the feeling of shredded skin and flesh rubbing through his finger. He could still hear the screams of pain replaying itself through his ears and the smell of blood stuck in his nose. "You okay?" came the voice of Kakashi at the bathroom door. "Kakashi-sensei, I'm sorry. I let Sasuke die," Naruto said between throwing up and sniffling. "No, he's alive. He's just resting in his room for now. Listen, Naruto, I know how you're feeling right now, but it will get better once you get used to it. The memory will never leave you, but after a while it won't be as bad. Hell, I still remember my first kill like it was yesterday. My sensei had to stay with me for a whole week. He even gave me the great advice to get something to take my mind off it. Though I must say, even I didn't kill so many people on my first try. So whatever you get to help should be something that can distract even a Kage from their own thoughts," Kakashi said, patting Naruto on the shoulder as he went for another round on the toilet. "And what did you get to help?" Naruto said, finally not feeling the need to throw up while taking. "Me, well, I got this," Kakashi replied as he pulled out his signature orange Ika book and chuckling at Naruto's dumbfounded expression. "You're kidding, right?" Naruto asked, a small smile making its way back onto his face. "No, I'm serious. In fact, it was my sensei, the Yondaime Hokage, who gave it to me. Though his wife was so furious when she found out that she chased him around the village with a frying pan for a whole day. Rumor says that he learned the flying Raijin just to get away from her when she was mad," Kakashi replied as he and Naruto started laughing at the story. I think I'll pray for them," Naruto stated, earning a confused look from his sensei. "The people I kill, I'll pray for the people I kill. The least I could do for those that die by my hand is to wish them a peaceful afterlife, and I'll start with Haku and Zabuza before I get to the rest," he added, getting a chuckle from Kakashi. "What's so funny?" Naruto asked, a bit mad someone was laughing at his coping mechanism. "Oh, nothing, but Haku isn't dead. He's actually the one who healed you," Kakashi answered, causing Naruto's eyes to grow wide. "Is she still here?" Naruto asked, getting up after fully cleaning out his stomach from its contents. "She's out back, through the woods. She just buried Zabuza," Kakashi replied while standing up to go back downstairs. "I see. Oh, and Kakashi-sensei, thank you," Naruto called out before Kakashi could leave the room. "No, Naruto, I should be the one thanking you for saving me, your team, and the client," Kakashi stated before leaving the room and Naruto to his thoughts. Walking through the woods to where Kakashi indicated, Naruto came to a cliff overseeing the ocean and Haku standing over a grave with Zabuza's headband tied to a cross made with sticks to indicate the burial. Walking over to stand next to Haku, Naruto stayed quiet for a few minutes before Haku started to speak. "I'm going back to Kirikagure. It was his last wish for me to rid our home of the evil." "I see. So this is goodbye, I guess." "It is, for now. I wish for us to meet again someday, but for now I need some time alone," Haku answered before walking back, taking Zabuza's sword with him. "Goodbye, Haku. I'll see you soon," Naruto whispered before kneeling down at the grave. Staying for a week longer, Team 7 finally departed for Konoha after Tazuna finished the bridge thanks to Naruto's shadow clones. "So what shall we name the bridge, huh? I think it should be named the Great Tazuna Bridge. How about you?" Tazuna said, watching the departing backs of his village's saviors. "Don't be such an egotist, Dad. I for one think it should be called the Great Naruto Bridge." Tsunami suggested, getting cheers from all the villagers, much to the dismay of Tazuna. "Yeah, I guess that could work." Tazuna sulked before going to work on putting up the name board for the bridge. After 2 days of traveling, Team 7 finally arrived at Konoha. Reporting to the Hokage about the mission, Kakashi decided to nominate his team for the Chunin exams in 6 months and received permission from the Sandaime, who believed that they would be more than ready when the exams came around. Waking up from another nightmare, Naruto got out of bed and went to his fridge for a glass of milk. It had been 4 months since his team's mission to Wave, and yet the faces of his victims still haunted his dreams. Since they got back to the village, Team 7 has been training non-stop for the Chunin exams in a 2 months' time. Opening the fridge, Naruto was disappointed to see the lack of both milk and his favorite food, ramen, and decided to go for a walk instead, not realizing he was being watched by both the concerned Hinata and Kakashi. He'll be fine, Hinata. He just needs some support from his team and friends, whether he wants it or not. Trust me, I would know, Sasuke stated, rubbing his eyes as he walked out of his room. He woke you up too, huh? Kakashi asked with a chuckle. It's kind of hard not to wake up with that kind of screaming, and it's still as annoying as it began 4 months ago. Sometimes I feel like waking him up so that he can stop, but it seems like he does that himself. Sasuke answered before going back into his room. I'm going back to sleep. See you tomorrow, he added before closing the door and climbing in his bed. Because of his team's curiosity, Naruto, although fearful to their reactions, told his team about the nine-tailed fox. To say that they were surprised was an understatement, and yet they understood his burden, and instead of it pushing them away, it seemed like it only made them grow closer. Walking through the streets in the cold of night, Naruto somehow found himself at the graveyard. Walking between the rows of gravestones, he ended up at the grave of his greatest hero and the person who burdened him with protecting the village, the fourth Hokage, and unbeknownst to most his father. Sitting down, Naruto began to speak. I guess it's about time I visit you again, huh? So how have you been? Sorry I haven't been here in a while. I have been busy with all these D-rank missions, and the occasional C-rank. But with the Chunin exams rolling around, I've been training a lot, though that's mostly to put my mind at ease from the screams of the people I killed. Oh, I almost forgot to tell that I forgive you for what you sealed in me. It may have taken a while, but I realized it had to be done. Though if what I'm thinking is right, you couldn't really have taken anyone else. I mean, we basically look the same if not for my whiskers and height, though I don't know which family member you were, like my father, uncle, or even cousin. Anyway, I have to go now. I just wish I knew if you were proud of me. He finished before standing up and walking away before a tall white-haired man appeared where Naruto sat just a minute ago. So he figured it out, huh? Guess he really is your son, Minato, the man said, turning his head from a departing Naruto to the grave. The next day, waking up from the best sleep he had since Wave, Naruto had a good feeling about the day, only to be disappointed when Kakashi canceled the day's training. Walking through the village, Naruto's stomach began to growl and decided to go to Ichiraku's, where he met the strange sight of a giant man with waist-long hair resembling that of a lion's mane, jumping off a large toad and walking into the ramen stand before the large toad vanished in a puff of smoke. Walking into the stand, Naruto went to sit next to the man and order his usual miso ramen. Oh, this will be a good one, the man stated while giggling as he read some of his notes. What are you reading? Naruto asked, looking over the startled man's shoulder. Nothing meant for your eyes, brat, the man replied while hiding the notes with his body. Who are you anyway? He added. The name's Naruto Obito Uzumaki, he replied before asking, and you are? I'm glad you asked, brat, for I am the legendary sage trained by the great Toad Sage himself on Mount Myaboku, he who has wooed women from all over the elemental nations. The great Toad Sage, dramatic pause, Jiraiya, the man stated while doing a kabuki-style dance and ending in a dramatic pose while Naruto swore he could hear drums being played. Sure, whatever floats your boat, old man, Naruto said, turning to eat the ramen recently placed in front of him. That is until he realized what the man said. And oh way, you're the Toad Sage Jiraiya of the legendary Sannin, he asked after swallowing his mouthful of ramen. The one and only, Jiraiya chuckled with pride, sitting back down on his seat and starting to eat his ramen. That means you trained the fourth Hokage, that's so cool. Can you tell me a story about him, please? Naruto began begging, unknowingly boosting Jiraiya's pride. You know what, brat? I'm starting to like you. How about I show you a few things after we're done eating? What do you say? He asked, smirking at boy that resembled a torch with both his hair and the fire burning in his eyes as he nodded his head with such vigor that it would put the youthful green beast of Konoha to shame. All right, then you better finish quickly, 'cause I'm not waiting for yo. Jiraiya started but was cut off when he heard a loud slurp and slam before looking over to see Naruto already finished his extra-large bowl of miso ramen. Arriving at one of the unused training grounds of Konoha, Jiraiya began to spar with Naruto to test his abilities, but was disappointed to see every possible opening a taijutsu stance could have been used by Naruto. He was pleasantly surprised tough to see Naruto's talent in ninjutsu as he used 2 wind style and 1 water style techniques. Okay, I've seen enough, Jiraiya said, ending their spar. But you haven't even showed me anything yet, Naruto complained. I didn't say we were done, brat. I just needed to see what you need help with. And your taijutsu or lack thereof is gonna get my full attention until I'm satisfied, Jiraiya stated before biting his finger, forming a few hand seals and slamming his hand to the ground. Kuchios no jutsu. After the cloud of smoke disappeared, Naruto saw an old small toad that Jiraiya called Fukasaku-sama. Listening to the conversation between Jiraiya and Fukasaku, he realized that the old toad would teach him taijutsu while Jiraiya would focus on his ninjutsu. Hey, Jiraiya-sama, why is this old frog going to teach me taijutsu? A confused Naruto asked, much to the horror of Jiraiya and anger of the old toad. Naruto, do you have anyone you want at your funeral? Jiraiya asked, his voice serious and his face blank as he pulled out his notebook and pen, waiting for his answer. What are you talk? Naruto started but was cut off with a loud FWAP and pain running down his head. Who are you calling old or a frog, you damn brat? Fukasaku said after disappearing from his spot on Jiraiya and appearing on Naruto's head, repeatedly hitting the teen with his wooden stick. After about 2 hours of watching his new student get beaten by the toad, Jiraiya interfered, though hesitantly before explaining how Jiraiya is going to take some of his clones to another area to focus on ninjutsu while Fukasaku is going to teach him the toad fist style. The next 2 months have passed by rather quickly under the tutelage of Kakashi, Jiraiya, Fukasaku. Though he was rather sad about not going to be taught under Jiraiya anymore anytime soon, he couldn't help but be happy about getting a break from the arrow senins, as Naruto liked to call him, training methods, like the one time he was pushed off a cliff to access the 9-tailed fox's chakra to manage to summon the chief toad Gamabunta, or when he also died from blood loss while sparring with one of the toads to train his kenjutsu. Now only a week away from the Chunin exams, all of the senseis of teams that is taking part in the exams have to give a report on their squad's abilities. Okay, please call in Kurenai Yuhi in next, Hiruzen ordered to the secretary in his office. 5 seconds later, a tall dark-haired woman with crimson-red eyes stepped into the office and began speaking once she received permission from the leader. Good evening, Sandame-sama. I should probably inform you of Sakura Haruno first. She has incredible chakra control and took to the genjutsu I taught her like a fish takes to water. Though she isn't very strong physically, her teammate Kiba Inuzuka more than makes up for it with his strength and tracking abilities. However, both Sakura and Kiba are very brash when it comes to decision-making, which is why Shino Aburame's stoic nature comes in useful, who is also as inept in tacking with his bugs as Inuzuka is with their noses. Though I must admit that Sakura isn't the most willing person to work with her team. I see. Now I must ask, do you still think your team is up for the exams? Asked the Sandame, earning a nod from the woman before dismissing her. Okay. Bring in Asuma Sarutobi next, please. He asked his secretary again, and this time a tan man with short brown hair, a trimmed beard and a cigar in his mouth. Good evening, father, how have you been? I suppose you want my report now, so I guess I'll start with our strategist Shikamaru Nara. He's not very enthusiastic about anything, though he has a brilliant mind. He's able to come up with strategies on the spot to ensure a successful mission. And then there is Choji Akamichi, who makes up for his teammates' lack of strength with his own. Finally, there is Ino Yamanaka. How should I put this? She's not very smart or strong, but she does have the ability to read people like a book and gather information. Asuma stated before being asked the same question as the woman, nodding his head and leaving with a bow. Okay, and finally, Kakashi Hatake, Hiruzen said, lighting his pipe and putting it in his mouth. Walking into the office, Kakashi put his book back in his pack and greeted to Hokage with his usual eye smile. Mind if I take a seat, Hokage-sama? He asked. Getting a nod of confirmation from the aged Hokage, Kakashi sat in the seat opposite his leader before beginning his report. Well, I suppose I'll start with Hinata Hyuga then. Her mental state has improved quite smoothly, When on missions and while training, she discards her shy and timid nature, only bringing that part of herself out when in the village and around her troublemaker of a teammate. Her taijutsu and combat ninjutsu leaves a lot to be desired, but she shows great aptitude for medical jutsu, and she can also be quiet fearsome when using Senbon needles. I also tested hers and her teammates' chakra nature, and the results shocked me. To say the least, Hinata has both water and lightning elements. Next is Sasuke Uchiha. It would seem that his need for revenge has dimmed considerably and came to think of his team as a sort of second family. Though he and Naruto still continues with their verbal spars, there is hardly any heat in their words. His taijutsu and ninjutsu are excellent and learns the jutsu I teach them almost as fast as I do with his Sharingan. He has also made great progress in his marksmanship, which only increased with his birthday gift Naruto. And his chakra natures are lightning and earth, but also has a much weaker affinity to fire. Finally, there is our feisty little friend Naruto Uzumaki. His mental state had deteriorated since Wave, but not as much as I would have thought thanks to his teammates, friends, and to my surprise, Jiraiya, who had also been helping to train him for the past few months. Using his shadow ability in combination with Lord Second's shadow clones, he created a sturdier version and it helped to boost his training along. Naruto was taught the Toad Fist style, though not very efficient in it yet. It's a taijutsu style that relies on speed, agility, and strength, all which he has plenty of. His ninjutsu is astounding. He finished the wind release. Gale Palm I taught him in Wave a month after we got back to the village, as well as wind release, great breakthrough, and water release, water bullet. He has also proved his superior swordsmanship, rivaling that of my own at his age. And finally we get to his chakra natures, which is wind and water. And as for his mutation to use shadows, we're making steady progress, but I have a feeling we haven't even scratched the surface. But for what he can do so far, as you know, he can apply the shadows to his clone thus far, but I'm theorizing he can use it on other jutsu as well. He can enter the shadows to hide from enemies and move between them, though we don't want to risk sending anyone in with him. He can also use solid transformations, though that might be because of his nine tails. And finally, he is able to mask his presence to a degree, but with training he could potentially completely disappear. All in all, if he is trained right and gains a bit more experience, he could strike fear in all of the elemental nations without the use of nine tails. Kakashi finished to the old leader, whose eyebrows were plastered on the roof in shock. "I suppose you are pleased with what you hear, Hokage-sama?" he asked jokingly. "You already know the answer, Kakashi. I knew they had potential, but this surpasses all my expectations by a very, very wide margin." Hiruzen replied and couldn't help but chuckle. It wasn't just Team 7 that shows great potential, but also Teams 6, 8, and 10, though they did show the most. "Well, I suppose asking you this is useless, but do you still feel like they are ready for the Chunin exams?" he asked, already knowing the answer. Grinning beneath his mask, Kakashi nodded his head before answering to reinforce his notion. "Of course, Hokage-sama." Before he could exit the office, Kakashi was called back by the Hokage, who threw a scroll at him before saying, "Give that to Naruto-kun after the second stage of the exam, would you?" he said before continuing at the confused look of his silver-haired subordinate. "It's a gift from his father for when he becomes Chunin. Tell Naruto it's a thank you for helping me with my paperwork problem," he added with a chuckle at the last part. Looking around the office, Kakashi finally realized what the Hokage's clones were doing. "Jiraiya has already told you about Naruto's theory about who his father is, hasn't he?" the Jonin asked light-heartedly before looking at the picture of the fourth on one of the office walls. The remaining few days passed rather quickly, and finally the day of the exam rolled around. "So this is it, huh?" Naruto thought, a smile on his face as he and his team stood outside the academy. Arriving on the second floor of the academy building, Team 7 walked to a classroom everyone crowded to. Before they could ask what was going on, a random genin was pushed towards Hinata, but he was caught by an annoyed Naruto. "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" Naruto asked, turning to see the one that shoved the genin was currently blocking the entrance to the classroom, along with another genin who had a plaster along his nose and chin. "We're helping you out by keeping the guys we deem unworthy from taking the exams," the genin with plasters replied. "What are you taking about? The exam room is on the third floor. This is the second floor," Naruto stated with a confused look on his face. "Can't you read? The sign clearly says this is the third floor, idiot," The first genin replied, grinning at Naruto's increasing annoyance. Getting fed up at the genin, Naruto went to attack but was stopped midair by the previously shoved. Looking at the boy Naruto saw, he wore a green spandex bodysuit with bandages covering both hands, but his uncovered fingers were scared, which proved how much he trained. The bow had black-haired styled into a bowl cut and big round eyes, but what drew most of Naruto's attention was the boy's big bushy eyebrows that Naruto thought looked like caterpillars. "Thank you for helping me earlier, but I can't let you fight each other," the boy said. Finally calming down, Naruto began to walk away with his team. When they finally made it to the third floor, the spandex boy called after them and introduced himself as Rock Lee, before challenging Sasuke to a fight, which he would have won if he had not been knocked away by a turtle with an equally green spandexed man on its back. Walking away from the eyesore sight of two clones hugging each other, Team 7 finally arrived at the testing hall where they met up with Kakashi, who wished them good luck. Walking into the testing room, Team 7 met with the rest of their graduating team and started talking while waiting for the exam to begin. "You might want to quiet down a bit," they heard from behind them. Turning to see who was talking, they saw a boy with bluish-silver hair tied up in a ponytail and wore round glasses along with a leaf headband. The boy looked to be around 17 to 19 years old and was looking right at them with a smile, which Naruto could tell was fake. "Why's that?" Kiba asked, carrying his sleeping companion and Neendog, Akamaru, on his head. "Because they're watching you," the boy replied simply while jerking his thumb to the direction of the other participants. Looking over to the other inhabitants in the room, the Rookie 9 saw shinobi from 4 of the 5 great shinobi villages glaring at them, as if trying to pick them apart with their eyes. The only village that wasn't taking part in the Chunin exams was Kirikagure, and that's because they are yet again going through one of their famous civil wars. "My name is Kabuto, by the way," he said, drawing the rookie's attention back to him, "and I specialize in information gathering," he added while pulling out a stack of blank cards. "I have information on everyone in this room. All I have to do is channel some chakra into these and bam. Now, is there anyone you want to know about?" he asked, going to sit cross-legged on the floor while waiting for them to question him. "Yeah, I want to know about Sabaku no Gaara, Rock Lee, and Naruto Uzumaki," Sasuke stated and stepped forward, ignoring the rants of Naruto for trying to reveal his secrets. "You already know their names. That just makes things boring," Kabuto said while going through his deck of cards. "Okay, Sabaku no Gaara. Not much is known about him, but the information I have says he has completed 13 C ranks, 12 B ranks, 20 A ranks, and 6 S ranks. And as a note, it says he has completed all missions without so much as a scratch," Kabuto listed of, feigning surprise. Next up, Rock Lee. He is the unofficial favorite student of the Taijutsu master, Might Guy. He, along with his 2 teammates, Niji Hyuga and Tenten Senju, have completed 106 D ranks and 17 C ranks. Though he doesn't have the ability to mold chakra, he is highly skilled in Taijutsu. According to Academy grades, the only people who graduated with better grades in Taijutsu are Might Guy, followed by the 4th Hokage and Itachi Uchiha. He added, this time actual surprise on his face. And finally, Naruto Uzumaki, student of the famous Kakashi of the Sharingan, completed 200 D ranks, 15 C ranks, 2 B ranks, and 1 A rank. He has chakra reserves equal to that of the legendary Sannin, and his chakra nature is wind, though he has a rare mutation which gives him a shadow ability. On his first A rank, he killed a little over 200 missing nin, who were all ranked Chunin or lower, without the help of his teammates. He finished before adding with a whistle, "That's pretty impressive. No wonder you're in the bingo book." "What are you taking about?" Naruto asked, cocking his head sideways. "Oh, you haven't been informed yet, huh? Next time you talk to your sensei, ask him for his bingo book and turn to page 26, Kabuto said before walking off. Turning around, Naruto saw his graduating class gaping at him, some with fear and others with awe. No way. There's just no way that Naruto killed that many people on his own. It must have been Sasuke-kun, and Naruto just took credit for it. "Isn't that right, Sasuke-kun?" Sakura and Ino squealed at the same time. "Actually, it isn't. Naruto killed them to save me, Hinata, and Kakashi-sensei." So you'll do well not to insult the guy I owe my life to. Sasuke answered with a smirk before it dropped as he glanced at his now shaking teammate, taking Naruto away from everyone else to calm him down. About another 10 minutes passed before the examiner entered the room and the exams began. Looking at the fences surrounding Training Ground 44, the Forest of Death, Naruto couldn't help but feel desperate for some action. Just an hour ago he sat in a room with all the partakers of the exam, and now the number of teams had decreased rather considerably, though it would have decreased more if he had not interfered. After traveling for about 3 hours, Naruto's team was horrified when their blue-eyed teammate was tackled out of the air by a giant snake. Before they were able to go after the snake that had Naruto in its mouth, a tall woman with the symbol of grass on her headband appeared before them. "I'll be taking that scroll of yours. So, would you please?" the woman stated while holding out her hand. "Over my dead body," Sasuke replied before dropping into the standard Uchiha Taijutsu stance. "Oh, well, that won't do at all," the woman said while laughing before she dropped into her own strange battle stance. Charging at the woman, Sasuke told Hinata to go after Hinata, before going for a roundhouse kick towards the grass nin's head, which she intercepted by grabbing his ankle and throwing him into a tree trunk. Getting up, Sasuke made some hand seals and started charging again. Elsewhere, Naruto dispelled his clones before trying to clean himself from the chunks of the dead snake that swallowed him whole. Walking towards a river, Naruto was about to jump in when he heard a panicked voice calling him from behind. Turning around, he saw Hinata standing there with her hands on her knees while panting. "Oh, hey Hina-chan, I was just about to get back to you guys after I washed myself off, you know?" Naruto said, scratching the back of his head. "There's no tea time," Hinata replied in between breaths. "We're being attacked," she answered, finally gaining her breath. Understanding the situation, Naruto quickly put his sword back in its place before speeding off in the directions Hinata came from. About a minute passed until Naruto came to the view of Sasuke on a tree to his left, a grass nin on a tree to his right, and what looked like a heaven scroll flying through the air towards the shinobi from grass. Jumping forward, Naruto grabbed the scroll before the grass nin could get her hands on it. "What the hell are you doing, Sasuke? You can't just go giving away our scroll," Naruto yelled before drawing his sword again. "Naruto, just give her the scroll. There's no way we can fight against an enemy as strong as this one," Sasuke stated to Naruto, who just became more furious. Dashing towards Sasuke, Naruto knocked the dark-haired boy off his feet and held his sword against the boy's throat. "Who are you and what did you do to Sasuke? There is no way the Sasuke I know will be so scared of a weakling like this that he'll botch our chances of becoming Chunin." Naruto finished just as Hinata landed next to them, confused at the situation her two teammates were in. Activating her Byakugan, Hinata couldn't see any genjutsu, which just made her more confused of her teammates' actions. Looking around, she saw a sight that stuck her breath in her throat. Looking right at her was the grass nin, but with her Byakugan active, she saw chakra almost as sinister as Naruto's when he uses Nine Tails chakra. "A Hyuga, huh? I guess this is my lucky day," the woman stated before licking her lips, causing all three members of Team 7 to quiver. Turning back to Sasuke, Naruto began to speaking. "Never mind. I can see why you don't want to fight this pedo," he stated, his tone as flat as his expression, earning a sweat drop from the woman. Stepping off of Sasuke, Naruto nodded to his teammates and they all charged at their opponent, going for the legs to knock the enemy off balance, while Sasuke went for the upper body to pin her down and Hinata threw Senbon to paralyze the grass nin. Jumping over Naruto's leg sweep, she kicked him in the stomach before grabbing Sasuke's fist and throwing him in the way of the Senbon and into Hinata. Getting up, Naruto charged again while bringing his hands together and channeling some chakra before pulling them apart, creating a gust of wind and directing it forward, an invisible gust of air charging forward and slamming into the woman, tearing a large chunk of skin of her face. As the woman turned to face him, Naruto saw a yellow snake-like eye with a purple line running down the side of the nose and pale skin coming from the peeling skin mask on the previously thought to be woman. "Well, now looks like you have a little more potential than I initially thought," The man hissed before drawing some of his blood and wiping it across his forearm, followed by a puff of smoke and a giant snake rushing, or slithering, towards Sasuke at full speed. Jumping in the way of the gigantic white snake, Naruto managed to stop it in place just before it could eat Sasuke. Looking up at his teammate, Sasuke saw Naruto's eyes turn to dark purple with a plethora of white dots. It looked like the night sky on a clear night and white slitted pupils. His whisker marks more pronounced, his canines were each an inch longer and his nails resembling claws. "Hey, you're not hurt, are you? Scaredy cat." Trying to move, Sasuke watched in horror as the snake's tail wrapped around his friend's body and lifted him into the air. He saw a man on top of the snake's head forming hand seals, before his hand began glowing with dark green chakra and slamming it into the boy's stomach, making his teammate go limp and being dropped to the ground. Finally willing himself to move, Sasuke went to grab Naruto just before he hit the ground and gently put him on the ground with a smile as the tears fell from his now two-tomo Sharingan. Turning back to the snake summoner, the only emotion that was visible in Sasuke's eyes was rage, pure, unadulterated rage as he charged the pale man. Catching a glimpse of Hinata starting to stand up, an idea formed in his head as he joined up with his female teammate and informed her of his plan. Nodding in understanding, Hinata pulled out ninja wire and tied them to her sunbon as she and Sasuke ran off to their positions. Once they were both ready, Hinata pulled out some on her senbon and threw them, and the man who dodged them all with a smirk on his, all the while being attacked by Sasuke. As the two members of Team 7 charged the man, the ninja wires tied to Hinata's senbon suddenly tightened as it trapped the man to a tree before being the subject of a grand fireball jutsu. Before they were able to celebrate, however, they looked back at the tree only to see the man turning into mud. Before they could react, the original popped out of the ground and stretched his neck out before biting the raven-haired boy on the neck, leaving behind a strange black seal with 3 tomo in its center. Falling to his knees in pain, Sasuke gritted his teeth before passing out 5 seconds later. Going back into her taijutsu stance, although scared, Hinata was ready to protect her teammates with her life. To her surprise and relief, though, the man just laughed before melting into the ground, leaving only Hinata and her unconscious teammates in the clearing. Closing her eyes for only a second, Hinata couldn't help but doze off for a minute before she snapped herself back into the waking world. Behind her lay Naruto and Sasuke, both passed out after their fight with the snake summoner. She had stayed awake since then to protect her team, but after being awake for a day and a half, add to the fact that she had her Byakugan active the whole time, she started running fumes. She wouldn't be surprised if she slept for a week because of chakra exhaustion. At least, she noticed her dojutsu's range of view and precision has increased rather dramatically. Hearing a groan from behind her, she turned around and saw Naruto sitting up looking around before locking his eyes with hers. When he tried to talk, however, he couldn't help but cough because of a dry throat. "Hey Hina-chan, where are we?" he asked, gritting through the pain of a hoarse throat. "We're camping you under some tree roots, and Naruto-kun. You and Sasuke were out for almost 2 days now. How are you feeling?" Hinata answered with a small smile. Smiling back at her, his face turned into one of confusion and then sadness as he saw the tiredness in his female teammate's eye. "Hinata, don't tell me you stayed awake the whole time to protect us," Naruto said. When he didn't get an answer from Hinata, he started, "You need to get some sleep. I'll take watch for now." Seeing Hinata about to retaliate it, he added, "And don't dare trying to convince me that you're fine." Seeing that Hinata finally gave up, Naruto couldn't help but chuckle at his thoughts. Damn, I'm starting to sound like the hospital nurses. A few minutes after Hinata went to sleep and Naruto was sure she was asleep, he created a few shadow clones and put them to different tasks while he stayed to watch over his teammates. Looking over to Hinata, Naruto couldn't help but blush at what he deemed the cutest view ever. About 3 hours passed when Naruto suddenly felt like someone was approaching their camp. Deciding to follow his gut feeling, he created 5 clones and had 2 of them transform into his teammate, another 2 to take them and hide them away, and the final one to take the original's place. Watching over the area he felt the presence from, even if it were only for a second, he saw 3 Sound Nin hiding in the bushes and looking right at his transformed clone. deciding to get closer so he could hear them speaking. He heard, "Lord Orochimaru only said we had to try and kill the little Uchiha. Not that he had to be awake while we did so. Well, as long as I get to have some fun while killing that pampered princess, then I'm content," the kunoichi of the group stated, making Naruto's blood begin to boil. After what's been deemed the bridge massacre, Naruto couldn't stand those that killed for the fun of it. "Fine. Kin gets the girl, Zaku gets Uchiha, and I'll take of the fox brat," one of the male shinobi stated, making Naruto believe that he was the leader. "Thanks Dosu, you're not bad after all," the now named Zaku snorted. "Ah, so that's his name," Naruto thought as he looked at the one completely covered and bandaged, only his left eye uncovered to be able to see. Watching as the three sound shinobi made their way to their camp, Naruto got ready to make more clones and pull out his sword. Just as the clone transformed as Sasuke popped at the attack from Zaku, Naruto made 9 extra clones and pulled out his sword before going to attack the enemy team, not remembering to mask his presence. He was surprised when Dosu suddenly threw some shuriken in his direction. Jumping into a nearby shadow, Naruto moved through it and popped up behind Zaku before stabbing him with a kunai in the knee. Naruto, however, did not expect to get his eardrums burst when the stabbing victim lowered his hands towards his ears and released a sound wave. Trying to move around while holding his bleeding ears, Naruto kept falling over. Realizing he had to heal and fast, he started siphoning the Nine Tails chakra but didn't have enough time as he was kicked in the back, sending him into a tree. Managing to get up in time to block a kunai to his side and parrying a slash towards his neck, but Dosu only kicked the boy in the stomach before feeling a sharp pain in his right hand. Elsewhere, Hinata was startled awake by clinging steel and splintering wood. To her surprise, Naruto was standing over her with his sword drawn ready in case someone decided to attack, and she couldn't help but turn red. Looking around, she noticed that they weren't under the tree roots anymore, and Sasuke was nowhere in sight, probably meaning Naruto carried them to a safer location and Sasuke woke up before going out to gather resources. "And Naruto-kun, where are we? How long was I asleep?" Hinata asked, still not completely rid of her blush. "Oh hey Hina-chan, I moved us under boss's orders. He's currently fighting some enemy ninja. You were asleep for about 3 hours, but I'm guessing you didn't get enough rest," the clone answered while gesturing towards the pale-eyed girl's red face. "And no, I'm fine and Naruto-kun," Hinata stated, waving off the boy's concerns. "Wait, who's this boss you're taking about, and who's he fighting?" Hinata asked after registering what the clone said. After the clone explained the situation the original was in and checking that Hinata was alright enough for a fight, he dispelled himself, sending Naruto his memories in the process. Hinata arrived at the battlefield to hear the agonizing scream of Dosu as he stood hunched over, his left hand cradling his right, and at his feet lay something looking oddly similar to a finger. In front of Dosu stood Naruto, his sword drawn, his breathing more ragged than she ever heard. His ears were bleeding profusely, and he looked like he was going to pass out any second. Surrounding her teammate were Zaku and Kim after finishing their fights with Naruto's clones. If Hinata was going to save her teammate, she had to come up with a plan, and quick. Activating her Byakugan, Hinata could see the amount of damage Naruto both dealt and received. If not for the fox, he would already have been dead 5 times over, and stacked with the strange seal placed on him to minimize the usable Bijou chakra. It's a miracle the boy is still able to stand. Right as she was about to attack, she saw Naruto look at her for a split second before continuing with his fight against Zaku and Kim. Naruto knew that Hinata was coming to back him up after the clone watching over her dispelled. But in the meantime, he'll have to buy as much time as possible. Thankfully, he didn't have to wait long as he caught a glimpse Hinata hiding in the shrubs as he dodged a kunai thrown at his head and slightly nodded. Turning to face his attackers with a small mischievous smile tugging at his lips, Naruto changed his battle stance to one of the many he and his teammates practiced for fighting side by side in the hopes Hinata caught on without him needing to signal her, and was relieved to see her nod in realization. Charging towards his closest opponent, Kim, Naruto feigned a horizontal slash from the right, and was pleased when the Sannin jumped back and right into Hinata's Senbon range, and watched as Senbon needle lodge itself in the girl's neck. Turning to look at the remaining shinobi, Zaku, Naruto realized his vision was starting to get bleary, and his body beginning to tremble. Deciding to try and preserve his remaining bit of energy, Naruto steadied his breathing and kept his movements minimal like Jiraiya taught him to for drawn-out fights. He realized he couldn't count on Hinata's help with this fight because the sound shinobi was out of her range, but he could use the fact that his enemy expected a sneak attack to his advantage. Before Naruto could move in for an attack though, he felt the same strange sensation from when the sound trio tried to sneak up on them. He closed his eyes and focused on the sensation. He felt it draw him to his left and then he felt it draw him to his left and then he felt it draw him to his left and then heard the sound of cracking wood to his right and opened his eyes to see the tree he was standing in front of only a second before falling over. He realized that whatever these strange sensations were, it sure was useful in a fight. I'll have to ask Pervy Sage about this later, he thought to himself before turning his attention back to his opponent with a renewed vigor. He jumped toward Zaku ready to stab him with his sword, but the other shinobi jumped to the side and used his sound waves to blow Naruto in the ribs, sending Whiskered Boy flying into a tree and unconsciousness. All Sasuke felt was rage as he made his way to his teammates. He didn't even feel scared of how they were faring against their attacker, knowing they could handle themselves, or maybe, a small voice whispered in his head, he didn't care what happened to them. He shook the thought out of his head just as he saw a mop of red and blonde hair crashing into a tree with a loud crunch, indicating a few broken bones. Seeing the state the now identified Naruto was in, Sasuke's rage only doubled, and he felt a strange dark power overtake him as he looked over to the shinobi who attacked his teammate. Only seeing red after the image of a smirking Sound Nin crossed his mind, Sasuke began to charge the unexpecting Zaku and crashed a fist into his stomach. The boy flipped over and spat out blood as he landed on the ground about 10 meters from his previous position. All Zaku could do for what felt like the next 3 years was receive blow after blow from the enraged raven-haired boy until he finally slowed his punches and grabbed the Sound Nin's arms from the back and started pulling it out of its sockets. Sasuke was pulled out of his bloodlust when he heard small familiar sobs coming from the direction of Naruto. He looked up to see Hinata holding Naruto with fear in her wide-watering, fear directed at him. Not the shinobi that attacked them, but him. He couldn't blame her, though. He started to fear himself after what he did started to dawn on him. He didn't even kill the shinobi, and yet he still wanted to puke. How did Naruto get over killing that many people, if I can't even beat one guy half to death without feeling like this? Hinata! He croaked out before collapsing on the ground with a loud thud, the dark energy receding back to his neck causing him to black out after a few moments. Hinata watched as Sasuke fell to the ground and the dark marks covering his body moving into a 3-tomo symbol on his neck. After a few moments, she was jolted back to reality when Naruto stirred on her lap and opened his eyes. "Where am I?" he asked through bleary eyes, and Hinata couldn't help but giggle even in her frayed-end state. "We're in the forest of death, Naruto-kun. Remember?" she answered while scratching his head. "Oh yeah, but what am I doing in your—" That caused her to turn blood red. A few hours after the Sound Shinobi ambushed Team 7, or at least tried to, they arrived at the tower in the middle. Luckily, the Sound team had the Earth Scroll, which just so happens to fit with their Heaven Scroll. Walking into the tower, Naruto placed the chakra-exhausted Hinata against a wall, a clone doing the same with a sleeping Sasuke. As he sat in the empty room, except the riddle board on the far end of the room, Naruto decided to take a look at his scrolls. "Okay, let's give this a shot," he mumbled to himself as he got up and walked to the riddle board. Let's see. Heaven, Earth, open, connect. I'm guessing the Heaven and Earth are referring to the scrolls, so maybe I should open them. No, they told us not to when we entered the forest. But then again, we only had one back then, and now we have both, and we're in the forest tower. Well, I suppose there's only one way to find out. The boy reasoned as he pulled out the 2 scrolls and threw them over each other to form a cross. Waiting a few seconds, Naruto tensed up when he heard a loud poof and saw smoke rising from the scrolls. But he relaxed when he saw Irika standing in the middle of the scrolls, smirking down at him. "Irika-sensei!" Naruto yelled as he jumped onto his sensei out of excitement. "The one and only. Now you might be wondering why I'm here. Irika began while chuckling at the blue-eyed boy's antics. I'm here to congratulate you and your team on passing the second stage of the Chunin exams, and with 2 days to spare. Unfortunately, your sensei is a bit busy at the moment, so he couldn't be here. Now let's get you and your team some medical attention. Irika finished as he slung a still sleeping Sasuke over his shoulders. What happened to them anyway? I mean, you all look more beat up than you should. Especially you, Naruto. You look like the dead walking. Irika asked while looking over Team 7, concern evident on his face. We got attacked by this pedo-looking guy that summons snakes. If my guess is right, it was Orochimaru of the Sannin. He put a seal on Sasuke and modified the seal on my stomach to restrict the Nine Tails chakra. Hinata is suffering from chakra exhaustion because she kept her Byakugan active the whole time after the attack and only passed out a few minutes before we entered the tower. Naruto explained to a shocked Irika. They survived an encounter with a Sannin. Irika though with amazement as he led Naruto to the medical center. The first thing Hinata noticed when she woke up was that she was in a dark room. The second was that she was lying on the most comfortable bed she ever felt, and the third and finale thing she noticed was that someone sat in a chair next to her bed, flipping the pages of some book that was hard to make out. "Oh, you're finally awake, huh?" asked a familiar voice. She could see the unknown figure close the book he was reading and leaned forward in his chair, revealing the covered face of her silver-haired sensei. "Kakashi-sensei, where are we? Where is Sasuke and Naruto-kun?" the bleary-eyed girl asked. "We're in the forest tower. As for your teammates' whereabouts, Sasuke is in another room and Naruto is... Well, why don't you take a look for yourself?" The Cyclops answered and pointed to her right side at the last part. Turning her head, Hinata let out a small eep when she saw Naruto lying with his head on her pillow while somehow simultaneously sitting in a chair and holding her hand. "When did we arrive at the tower?" she asked once she managed to calm herself down again. "You got here this morning. Both you and Sasuke arrived here on Naruto's back." Kakashi answered before continuing. "He told me about Orochimaru and the Sound Shinobi. How are you holding up?" "I'm as fine as someone can be after encounters like that," Hinata answered with a small smile, then giggled. "Though I suppose my ego is a bit bruised now that I think about it." Kakashi gave a small smile at the girl's words before standing up. "Rest up for now. We're gonna have a few preliminary rounds in 2 days' time due to too many teams passing the second stage," he said before walking out of the room, leaving Hinata with her own thoughts and a sleeping teammate. "I wonder who I'll be up against," was her last thought before sleep overtook her again. Sasuke lay awake in his bed, trying to remember how he got there. The only thing he could remember from after the snake summoner attacked them was seeing the fearful face of his female teammate. "My neck is killing me," he mumbled as he tried to sit up. "I can imagine. Who knows how much that damned snake modified the seal after he gave me one," came an unfamiliar voice in the corner of his dark room. Stepping out of the shadows was the proctor of the second exam, Anko Mitarashi, if Sasuke remembers correctly. "What are you doing here?" the boy asked curiously and a little on guard at the woman's sudden appearance. "I came to see how much the seal affected you. So, how do you feel?" she asked, her eyes slightly narrowed. "I feel fine," was the short answer she received. "What's your dream?" she asked immediately after. "To kill my brother," the raven-haired boy answered again. "What's with the questions? Would you sacrifice your friends to gain the needed power to kill your power?" was her next question, ignoring the boy's own. "Yes, wait, no, I wouldn't," Sasuke answered, mentally kicking himself for thinking otherwise. "I see. So the seal is already corrupting your judgment," Anko stated before walking out of the room, leaving a confused Sasuke on his own. Closing the door behind her, Anko turned to her companion. "So?" Kakashi asked, not even looking up from his book. "Seal it and make sure to keep an eye on him. I don't know how much stronger his seal is than mine, but it's corrupting him so fast it might be nearly impossible to condition it," Anko answered. "Things just got a whole lot more complicated," the Cyclops mumbled before walking off. The next day you could find Naruto going through the cupboards in the tower kitchen in search of ramen. Not finding any, he settled for making himself a sandwich. As he ate his food, he decided to explore the rest of the tower, and soon found his silver-haired Cyclops giggling at his usual orange book. He's always reading that book. I wonder if it's any good. I guess I'll check it out for myself later. Oh yeah, that reminds me. He thought to himself as he appeared next to his sensei. Hey Kakashi-sensei, can I ask you a few things? The boy asked with a bit of nervousness. Sure, what is it? Kakashi answered, looking away from his book at the tone of his student's voice. Well, the first thing I wanted to ask was if you have a copy of the newest bingo books? Naruto asked, curiosity overpowering his nervousness. Yeah, I picked it up this morning. Haven't taken a look through it though, the Cyclops answered, pulling out a small black book from a pouch on his leg and replacing it with his green one. Can I take a look at it? Naruto asked, to which Kakashi held his arm out before leaning over the boy's shoulder. Let's see. I think he said it was page 26. Naruto thought as he flipped through the pages. Finally, he came to the one he was looking for and scanned the contents. Name: Naruto Obito Uzumaki. Hair color: red-tipped blonde. Eye color: cobalt aquamarine. Age 12. Height: 5 feet 1 inch. Gender: male. Weight: unknown. Estimate of 49 kilograms. Level of ninjutsu: unknown. Estimate of mid to high chunin. Level of taijutsu: unknown. Estimate of high genin to low chunin. Level of genjutsu: unknown. Known jutsu: shadow clone jutsu. Transformation jutsu. Substitution jutsu. Kenjutsu. Things of note: has abnormally high chakra reserves. Believed to have a Kekkei Genkai. Kill count: 216. Notable kills: Gatu the fishing magnate. Once the boy finished reading, he looked up at his surprised sensei with a mixture of both shock and excitement. He realized that he will finally be treated as a real shinobi. Congratulations, Naruto. This is a cause for celebration if I've ever seen one, Kakashi stated with a genuine eye smile while ruffling the boy's hair. But before that, what else did you want to ask me? Oh yeah, when I was fighting against Pedo-Sanin and the sound shinobi, I felt a strange feeling going through my body, and when I followed the direction it asterisk pulled me in, I dodged a fatal attack. I could also feel the sound shinobi sneaking up on us from a few meters away, Naruto stated, not noticing Kakashi's reaction to his name for Orochimaru. It sounds like you're a battle sensor. Aren't you just full of pleasant surprises today? Ha, Naruto-kun. Kakashi answered while chuckling from amazement. What's a battle sensor, Kakashi-sensei? The blonde asked, raising an eyebrow and cocking his head to the side. Well, like a normal sensor, you can sense the location of anything that has chakra signature, within a certain radius, of course. The more you use it, the bigger the radius gets. Now, unlike a normal sensor, you can sense the chakra signature of people to such a degree that you can see their form. That means you can perfectly see every movement made inside your sensing radius. I believe you could also sense incoming chakra attacks, which would explain why dodged all those attacks. I'm guessing your subconscious used it and forced your body to move when it sensed danger. Kakashi explained. The only battle sensors that the elemental nations have seen came from either the Uzumaki or Senju clan, so to my knowledge you're the first battle sensor in a very long time. As his sensei explained his newfound power to him, Naruto felt his excitement rise to an all-time high. If he could use the power to its fullest degree, he could become one of the strongest shinobi in the village. That's so cool, the boy yelled as he jumped up and down in the hallway they were walking in. Oh yeah, that reminds me. The third wanted me to give you this once you and your team came out of the forest, Kakashi said as he pulled out a note and storage scroll. You can read the note now, but you can only open the scroll after the preliminaries, and only when you're with either me or Jiraiya-sama, Kakashi said, only giving his student the scroll once he agreed to his terms. Anyway, I have to go now, unless you have more questions, the Cyclops stated before walking away once he saw Naruto shake his head. See you later, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said as he started walking to Hinata's room to check up on her. Opening the letter on his way, he started to read. Dear Naruto, I don't really know what to write. I realize I'm ruining your chance of a normal life by sealing the Nine Tails into you, but I hope you realize that I didn't have any other choice. You might hate me and I understand, so as an apology I asked my own teacher, Jiraiya of the Sannin, to take you on as an apprentice once you become a Chunin. Of course you don't have to if you don't want to, but I hope you give him a chance. He can teach you many things, some of them are of my own creation. Maybe on day you can tame the fox's power. I don't know what path you decided to take in life, but know I'm proud of you, and if that doesn't mean anything to you then you should at least know that your parents are too and they loved you very much. Don't ever give the damned perv any money. He still owes me 20 Ryo. Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage. The next day all participants that passed the second part of the exam were gathered in the tower's arena. The 3rd Hokage standing on a stage to address them all. To the Hokage's left was the proctor of this part of the exam, Hayate Gecko. Tuning out the boring speech, all members of Team 7 were busy scanning through the possible competition. They were drawn out of their observations, though, when the proctor stepped forward and asked for everyone who thought they couldn't continue to leave the arena. When everyone who gave up was gone, the proctor called for Sasuke and someone named Yoroi Akidu to step onto the stage while everyone else was sent to the viewing balcony. Eyeing his opponent, Sasuke was ready to use either ninjutsu or taijutsu to beat his opponent. Seeing Yoroi starting to move in, Sasuke subconsciously activated his Sharingan and redirected a thrown kunai towards its thrower. Yoroi, catching the kunai just before it could hit him in the face, didn't see Sasuke go for a roundhouse kick towards his head. When the kick knocked his opponent down, Sasuke followed up with a jab to Yoroi's neck, but the man evaded the attack just before it could knock him unconscious. Making the mistake of deciding to attack from a range, Yoroi moved further away from the Uchiha, not realizing his mischievous smirk. Sasuke watched as his opponent jumped away with a smirk on his face. Not many know that he, unlike his clan, specializes in stringed weapons, including bows and Naruto's birthday present for him, the crossbow. Taking a storage scroll out of his weapon pouch, Sasuke injected some chakra into it before a strange-looking weapon popped out. The weapon had a handle and trigger. On the end of the weapon 2 wings were spread out on either side with a slit to load with a smaller form of an arrow. Spanned to either ends of the wings was a string that, once pulled back and hooked on the trigger, looked like it would launch the small arrow. Well, let's test out how effective the idiot's creations actually are. Sasuke mused while he loaded his weapon with a bolt, aimed it at his surprised opponent, pulled the trigger and watched as the piece of wood was launched through his opponent's left shoulder, rendering his arm useless. After another few minutes of the one-sided battle, Sasuke got bored and decided to end his match by charging his opponent and slamming a fist into Yoroi's face, rendering him unconscious and advertently winning the raven-haired boy the match. Naruto could only watch Sasuke's fight with pride, not because of his teammate brutally beating his opponent. No, he couldn't care less about that. He was proud because Sasuke's opponent was being brutally beaten with a weapon he created. Seeing its effectiveness also gave him a lot more ideas to increase the damage being dealt. One of those included explosive bolts. He silently chuckled at all the ideas, though he didn't realize Kakashi and Hinata sweat-dropping and staring at him with concern. After Sasuke's fight, few of the Konoha 12's fights were interesting enough to pay any mind. Shino used his bugs to block Zaku's sound cannons, causing his arms to break when he tried to use his sound waves. Shikamaru knocked Kim out using his shadow paralysis jutsu. Choji lost to Dosu when the bandaged boy sent a sound wave into the inflated boy, causing internal damage. Ino took over Sakura's body and made it look like the pink-haired girl gave up. Tenten lost when Temari used her fan to block the bun-haired girl's attacks and created a tornado that launched Tenten in the air and fall on Temari's fan, knocking her out. After a few more fights, Rock Lee and Gaara of the Sand were called down to fight. After shouting something about the power of youth, Rock Lee jumped down to face the already waiting redhead. Do you think he stands a chance against Gaara? Naruto asked while turning to face Sasuke. If what you said about the guy is true, he'd be lucky to get in a single hit. Sasuke answered, unease making its way into his voice as he stared down at the impending fight. Flashback Jutsu, 2 months earlier. Naruto and his team were on their way home from Ichiraku's when they ran into Konohamaru and his friends, or the Konohamaru Corps as they like to call themselves. Hey boss, wanna play ninja with us? Konohamaru asked, his smile radiating mirth that could rival Naruto's own. Maybe later, Konohamaru. I have some new ideas I want to start making, Naruto answered, a malicious grin finding its way onto his face and sending a shiver down everybody present's spine. Anything I can help with, boss? Or would you rather just spend time with your boyfriend? Konohamaru asked while wriggling his eyebrows at the blonde, his friends snickering behind him. What are you talking about, Konohamaru? The blonde asked, cocking his head to the side at the implication of him swinging the other way. Are you kidding, boss? Everybody at the academy is taking about the team selection accident. Konohamaru answered while laughing, not noticing both the male members of Team 7 paling and Hinata finding a new shade of red to add to her blush. The kiss. But I thought I made sure that nobody will say anything by threat of a month's worth non-stop pranks. Naruto mused to himself before pulling out his sword. Hey Konohamaru, who told you? Naruto asked in a quiet, toneless voice. Once Konohamaru noticed the sword, he stopped laughing and quickly paled before sprinting away with his friends. Chasing the 4-year-olds around a corner, Team 7 saw 2 sand shinobi, one being a kunoichi with teal eyes and sandy blonde hair, which is gathered into 4 consecutive pigtails. Her outfit consists of a single light purple-colored, off-the-shoulders garment that extended to halfway down her thighs, with a scarlet sash tied around her waist. In addition to incorporating fishnet worn over her shoulders and legs, specifically on her right calf and her left thigh, she also wore her black forehead protector around her neck, and on her back was a large battle fan notifying Naruto that she might be a wind user. The other shinobi wore a Bunraku puppeteer's costume, a black, baggy, full-body suit with a red and yellow circle on the front. He also had on a black hood which covered his head completely, and had cat-like ears and his forehead protector on his forehead. On his back was a big wrapped-up package that looked like a human body, and in his hands was the brown-haired Konohamaru. Going into his kenjutsu stance, Naruto looked the male shinobi straight in the eyes before starting to talk. I'll appreciate it if you would kindly put my friend down. We don't want to start the 4th Great Shinobi World War. Now do we? He spoke in a cold tone, his eyes holding no emotion and his body holding no sign of backing down. Next to him, Hinata pulled out some senbon and hidden in a nearby tree. Sasuke pulled an arrow back in his bow, ready to attack if necessary. Kankuro, just put the boy down and let's go. It's not a good idea to cause trouble in another village, Temari said while putting a hand on the boy's shoulder. Not now, Temari, this brat needs to learn some manners. Besides, these guys don't have the guts to attack the kids of the Kazekage. The now-named Kankuro replied with a smug grin, shrugging off his sister's hand. But you'll attack the grandson of the Sandaime Hokage? Hinata asked, stopping the face-painted boy in his tracks and causing him to sweat bullets. I believe we'll be right in our actions if we were to attack you in order to save the honorable grandson. Don't you? She continued. I think we have a misunderstanding here. I was only picking the kid up from the ground after he ran into me and fell down. There's no need to dash, the Suna boy explained, but was cut off by a voice in the same tree Sasuke was in. Kankuro, shut up. You're an embarrassment to our village. Came a monotoneless voice that sent shivers down everybody save Naruto's spines. It was a voice of someone that has experienced pain and death, both the cause and subject of it. It was a voice Naruto heard many times while growing up, from the Hokage, Kakashi-sensei, Jiraiya, and recently from himself too. Turning around, Sasuke saw a red-headed, eyebrowless boy with the kanji for love on the left side of his forehead. He was standing upside down on floating sand that connected to a gourd on his back. The boy floated down to his teammates before telling them that they should go. Taking Konohamaru onto his back, Naruto and Hinata made ready to depart when the redhead called for them. "Mother says to keep an eye on you. What's your name?" he asked the blonde, curiosity filling his usual toneless voice much to the shock of his teammates. "Naruto Uzumaki. And you are?" Naruto answered, raising an eyebrow at the boy. "Sabaku no Gaara. You interest me, Naruto. I feel a power stronger than my own inside you. I hope we can get a chance to fight in the exams." Gaara replied before turning his back and walking away, soon followed by his scared siblings. The departing Naruto and Hinata were soon joined by Sasuke, and they made their way to the Hokage Tower to drop off Konohamaru. "We're gonna have to keep an eye on them," Naruto said while on their way. "I think that Gaara guy might be a Jinchuriki too. Which one he holds though, I have no idea, but I do know he's killed before." End flashback. Rock Lee went into his taijutsu stance as soon as his feet hit the ground. Gaara, on the other hand, just faced Lee with his arms crossed in front of him. Hayate, seeing that both fighters were ready, called the beginning of the match. Once the match started, Lee moved so fast he completely momentarily disappeared from most of the Genin's sight and only appeared when he went for a horizontal kick to his opponent's waist, but was blocked by Gaara's sand and received a hard knock in the stomach, sending the bowl-cut boy rocketing into a distant wall. Lee then got up before charging at his opponent again, cocking his arm back, and when he was in the right position he sent a punch towards the sand user's face, but was once again stopped when his fist hit condensed sand. This went on for another few minutes until Lee's sensei, Might Guy, felt like the fires of youth were dwindling. Calling out to his student, he gave Lee permission to take something off, which the spandex-wearing boy was hesitant to do at first, but soon a smile spread across his face. Jumping onto the statue of two fingers forming a ram seal, Lee pulled down his leg and arm warmers, revealing a set of weight on each limb, and took them off. Dropping the weights, he heard Temari from the stands talking. "He can't honestly believe that taking off a few weights will accomplish anything, right?" she asked with a confused look on her face, making Lee's grin widen before he crossed his arms in an X form in front of him and launched them to his sides. At the same time, his skin gained a red tint and his veins started to bulge. This went on for a few seconds and his skin kept getting redder. His veins bigger, steam started rising out of his mouth, and his eyes turned completely white. On the other set of balconies, Naruto was looking at Guy from the corner of his eye and saw the enthusiastic man waiting with anticipation, making the blue-eyed boy wonder what was going on. When the weight hit the ground, two large craters appeared and dust began rising, blocking everyone's, who also had their jaws on the floor, view of the arena. When the dust cleared, nobody could spot Lee, but they could see Gaara spinning around with a confused look on his face, while his sand was spiking at random places around the red head. After a minute of spinning around, Gaara stopped dead in his tracks, eyes wide, when he spotted the green-clad boy appearing in front of him, his white eyes glaring at the Jinchuriki and the steam rolling off his body, creating an image that scared even the usual stoic Gaara. When Lee finally got tired, Gaara used the opening to attack the defenseless taijutsu user, wrapping his sand around the boy's left arm and back before closing his fist and crushing the entrapped body parts. When Lee was released by the sand, he fell to the ground, and Gaara, seeing the boy as a possible threat to his existence, sent another rush of sand towards his opponent, but was blocked by a sudden blur of green and saw an older version of the bowl-cut boy. "Why would you save him if he failed?" Gaara asked, his stoic front returned to its place. "Because he is my student and I care for him like my own son," was Guy's reply. Replaying the words in his head, he started to walk away but was stopped when he heard a gasp. Looking back at Lee, he saw the boy rising to his feet, but what surprised him was when the boy's sensei called that he was unconscious. Gaara might be stoic to most, but those who knew him well was surprised to see both fear and respect in the redhead's eyes. "That was intense," Naruto said, breaking the silence that blanketed the viewing stands, and everybody just nodded dumbly as they watched Lee being carried away by the medics and the proctor stepping forward to call the match. Winner: Sabaku no Gaara. Naruto watched as the last of the cleaning crew left the arena after fixing it. he still couldn't get the bloody form of Lee out of his head. He knew Gaara was strong, but strong enough to break Lee. The student of Might Guy was unbelievable. He's seen what Lee can do, and this red-headed boy treated him like a toy and then threw him away when he was bored. The blue-eyed boy was so lost in thought. He completely missed the next matchup and Kiba's yell of triumph, until Kakashi tapped him on the head with his book before pocketing it again. "Naruto, your match has been called," Kakashi said to his student, who turned his head to look at the board. "So I'm up against Dog Breath, huh? This should be interesting." He, though, as a mischievous grin came to his face that sent a shiver down everybody he's pranked before spines. Turning his head to an unnerved Kakashi, he put on an innocent face that would fool most. "Hey Kakashi-sensei, I seem to have ran out of kunai. Would you mind letting me borrow your weapon pouch for a while?" he asked, and Kakashi could only nod while sweating bullets at the tone Naruto used when introducing plans for some new inventions. Because his attention was on hoping Naruto would show mercy on his opponent, Kakashi completely missed the prankster taking of the pouch on his right leg and jumping down to the arena. Facing his opponent with cock grin, Kiba pulled his ninja hound, Akamaru, out of his jacket and placed him on the ground. "Why don't you just give up now, idiot? It will save both of us some time and you a lot of pain," the brown-haired boy exclaimed, only making the red-tip-haired boy's face light up in a face-splitting grin. Looking between the two boys, Hayate got ready to begin the match. "Are both contestants ready?" he asked, to which both boys nodded their heads and moved into their respective stances, Kiba getting on all fours and Naruto bringing his right arm to the newly acquired pouch. "Begin!" he exclaimed before jumping away. Seeing Naruto flip open his weapon pouch and putting his hand in, Kiba got ready to dodge kunai and shuriken, but fell over when he pulled out an orange book titled Ica Paradise and began reading. Up in the stands, Kakashi's eyes widened in surprise as he looked down to see the pouch he always uses to store his book in was gone. Everyone soon began to follow Kakashi's example of widening their eyes when they heard someone laughing their gut out. That's not what was surprising though, since almost all the adult shinobi let out a small laugh. What was surprising was who the source of laughter was. Standing next to Kakashi pointing to the arena, clutching his stomach and tears in his eyes, was Sasuke Uchiha. Sharingan active to forever remember the reaction of everyone in the room. Back in the arena, Naruto gave a small chuckle when he heard Sasuke's full-blown laughter, while Kiba was flabbergasted that his opponent pulled out a book when he was supposed to be fighting him. Shock quickly turned to anger and he charged at his opponent. Naruto, seeing Kiba charge at him out of the corner of his eye, just tilted his body back and fell. But when his back hit the ground, he was enveloped in a swirl of black, and the next second he was nowhere to be found. Naruto, however, looked at the crystal-filled abyss around him. This was his realm, a world created by a bloodline he activated when he found out his brother died. He was 10 years old back then. Floating around the abyss, the blonde went from crystal to crystal, each one connected to a different shadow in the real one. He noticed that when he came back from his mission to Wave Country, the distance he could travel using the shadows drastically increased. Finally finding a suitable spot to jump back into the arena, Naruto placed his hand on the crystal and warped out of the abyss. Back in the arena, everyone stared wide-eyed at the ground where Naruto fell through the ground. Kiba just stood confused and began looking around. "Where the hell did you run off to, loser?" he yelled as he couldn't pick up on the blonde's scent or hear him anywhere. Hearing Akamaru yelp in surprise behind him, he spun around and saw Naruto in the shadow of the viewing platform pinning the white dog to the ground and still reading his orange book. "Where the hell were you?" Kiba asked, baffled that his opponent completely disappeared from his senses, then just reappear like it was nothing. Naruto, following the example of his sensei, looked up from the book boredly and answered with 2 eye smiles, which freaked everybody out. "Oh, I was just around." Infuriated by the simple answer, Kiba charged the blonde, who forgot about his captive and flared his chakra, accidentally pushing a surprised Akamaru into his shadow realm. Kiba came to a complete halt as he saw his partner disappear. Naruto just looked between the ground where the dog was held and Kiba with wide eyes. His shock quickly turned to embarrassment as he sheepishly scratched the back of his head and looked to a sweating Kakashi. "Hey Kakashi-sensei, Now would probably be the best time to test if other things can survive in the shadows. Huh? He asked while ignoring Kiba's scream of fear and anger. I would say so, Naruto. The Jounin replied to his student, who was again enveloped by the shadows and disappeared once again. When Naruto opened his eyes, he looked around and saw a whimpering Akamaru slowly being enveloped by crystals. No! Stop it! Naruto exclaimed, and to his amazement, and Akamaru's relief, the crystals stopped and began pulling itself of the dog. Slowly making his way to Akamaru, Naruto took him in his arms and again exited to the arena. Sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to scare you like that, Naruto said as he rubbed the scared dog's fur. Kiba was relieved when he saw Naruto holding Akamaru in one hand and tried to grab him but was intercepted by Naruto, who quickly jumped away. He may be safe, Kiba, but we're still fighting, so I'll hand on to him for now, Naruto said as he made a shadow clone to hold the ninja hound. It's just you and me now. He continued and pulled his book back out with one hand and made a come here motion with the other. This book is actually good. I'll have to get my own copy later, he thought before jumping out of the way of another attack from Kiba. Stop running away, loser! Kiba yelled as Naruto kept jumping out of the way of his attacks. Naruto just sighed and grabbed Kiba's arm when he tried to punch him. He then kicked the Inuzuka in the stomach, sending him reeling back. Naruto followed up with a leg sweep before punching the falling boy in the side, sending him flying into the opposite wall. Kiba got up and charged Naruto again, but to his surprise the blonde disappeared in a puff of smoke, and he stopped, only realizing his mistake when he heard Naruto's voice from behind him. You know, Kiba, the first lesson my sensei taught me was to never let your opponent get behind him. Anyway, I'm getting bored, so let's finish this with the strongest jutsu Kakashi-sensei ever used on me, Naruto explained in a bored tone. Hidden Leaf Secret Finger Jutsu. 1,000 Years of Pain. Up in the stands, Guy was staring wide-eyed at Kakashi. My eternal rival, how could you teach your student the only triple S-rank jutsu in the Hidden Leaf Village? And you call me irresponsible for teaching Likuin to open the gates? He yelled, causing everyone to stare in either fear, awe, or surprise at this supposed jutsu that could kill the brown-haired boy, until they saw what happened next, that is. Kiba could only stare on in fear as Naruto's finger inched closer to him. Then pain overtook his entire body, starting from his taint. The last thing he remembered before darkness overtook him was flying through the air and crashing into a fall again. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. Hayate called after picking his face of the ground. As Naruto reached the top of the stairs, he saw Sasuke rolling on the ground with laughter and Hinata covering her face, trying, and failing, to hide her own laughter. When he looked at Kakashi, he was surprised to find the man with tears falling from his eyes, which he swore held pride in them. Hey Kakashi-sensei, here's your book back, he said as he held his hand out with the Cyclops' pouch gripped in it, but was further surprised when his sensei pushed his arm back. Keep it, you seem to enjoy it, and I have 2 more copies, the silver-haired man said with pride as he watched his student blush and wipe a crimson stream from his nose before he pocketed the book. Everyone who knew the perverted nature of Team 7 Sensei put their hands together and disrupted their chakra to dispel any genjutsu. After the medic Nines carried Kiba off in a stretcher, the board called off the names of the only genin that haven't fought yet. Hinata Hyuga versus Niji Hyuga. The proctor called as Niji already started descending the stairs. Naruto saw Hinata stiffen at the name of her opponent being called and placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. You okay, Hina-chan? He asked, worried. I don't think I can win this fight. I am not as strong as you and Naruto-kun, she stuttered out, tears threatening to spill from her eyes. Hina-chan, the only reason I didn't struggle much and won my fight against Kiba was because he has a temper issue and I used it against him. Of course, my superior speed and bloodline helped a bit, but it was mainly using my opponent's weakness against them. I'm sure you can do the same with your cousin, he reassured, causing Hinata to give a small smile. Okay. I'll do my best and Naruto-kun, she said, missing Naruto's smile as she rushed to the arena. Facing her cousin, Hinata could feel her small boost of confidence from Naruto slowly disappearing. Resolving herself to try her best, she looked Niji in the eyes with a determination that surprised the male Hyuga. Give up, Hinata-sama. Fate has declared you a failure the day you were born. You will never be able to beat me, Niji said with venom as he took up the traditional gentle fist stance of the Hyuga clan. And no, will win this match, and Niji Nizan. She replied as she activated her Byakugan and went into the same stance, with the right arm with an open palm stretched out and the left arm coiled at the hip with a closed fist, the right leg forward and the left leg pulled back as her head. Seeing the two genin were ready to fight, Hayate began the match and jumped back to observe the impending battle. Begin! As the match began, Hinata charged her cousin and engaged him in a taijutsu bout. A palm strike to his shoulder was blocked and countered with a strike to her abdomen. As she felt the blow connect, she stumbled back and coughed up some blood before regaining her composure and retaking her stance. Taking out 3 senbon, Hinata threw them with pinpoint accuracy, hoping for at least one of the needles to hit their targeted pressure points, but to her dismay Niji merely grabbed them out of the air and threw them back at her as she barely dodged the projectiles. To think you would go so low as to rely on weapons to beat me. You truly are a disgrace to the Hyuga, Hinata-sama. Niji spat as he charged at the unsuspecting heiress. Niji went for a palm strike to Hinata's stomach, but she blocked and retaliated with a leg sweep which he simply jumped over, missing a following kick that made its way to his chest and sent him tumbling backward. Getting up, Niji barely dodged a strike to his chest and took the painful chakra-infused attack on his left shoulder, effectively closing the chakra pathways in the male Hyuga's arm. I'll admit you're better than I thought, but it is still your destiny to lose here and mine to win, Niji declared before activating his Byakugan and charging at Hinata for a second time. Feinting a punch, which Hinata went to block, Niji swept his opponent's feet out from under her and struck the right leg of her falling form, closing her tenketsu and sending her crashing into the floor. And cough eye for an eye asterisk cough asterisk. Ha cough Niji. Hinata joked, clutching her leg in pain. Eyeing her opponent, Hinata began to form a few hand seals, took a deep breath and called, "Water release, water bullet," before a ball of water shot out of her mouth and hit a unsuspecting Niji in the stomach and making him skid back a few meters and clutch his abdomen in pain. Niji, after recovering, barely blocked a kick to his head and retaliated with his own kick to Hinata's left knee, knocking it out from under her, which caused her to fall to her knees. Seeing an opening in his downed opponent, Niji struck her left arm with a chakra-infused palm strike, immobilizing it, and went for a kick to her head. Hinata, seeing Niji's incoming kick, pulled out a senbon and jammed it in a pressure point in her opponent's right knee, making him lose his balance and missing the kick, giving Hinata the opening to close the tenketsu in Niji's other leg, causing temporary paralysis in both legs. Seeing as they both now had no way to retreat, they struck at each other with the gentle fist while kneeling on the floor, each hoping to gain the upper hand in their battle. It went on for a few minutes, where both opponents either dealt, blocked, or received a strike, until both Niji and Hinata struck at their opponent's neck, effectively rendering both opponents to lose consciousness. Jumping down into the arena to check on the combatants, Hayate declared the match a tie. Jumping up to the Hokage, he asked, "Hokage-sama, what should we do with Niji Hyuga and Hinata Hyuga?" Thinking for a few moments, the aged Hokage answered, "They both showed great skill in their battle. Niji as a superior taijutsu user as his opponent and Hinata as a superior ninjutsu and weapons user as Niji. I say we pass them both onto the final round because I believe them both to have quite a lot more to show us." Nodding his head and bowing to the Hokage, Hayate went to make the arrangements for the final rounds, while the Hokage stepped forward and gained everyone's attention. "I thank you all for participating in the Chunin exams and would like to congratulate the finalists on a job well done. I would also like to inform you that although you did not make it to the finals during the preliminaries, that does not take away from your chances at being promoted. Your senseis has observed your matches, and it is up to them to inform you respective kages of your current skill, as well as recommend you for the rank of Chunin. That is all I wish to say. Everyone is dismissed, but I ask that the finalists stay to find out who they would be up against in the finals. He announced before making his way down to arena where all the finalists, minus Niji and Hinata, who is being transported to the Konoha hospital for the damages done during their fight. Okay, you will all draw a slip from this box and call your number to determine who you would be fighting in the final exam. Hayate announced as he passed all the participants with a box to grab a slip from, before giving it to Guy and Kakashi to draw for their students in their place. 1. Called Guy for Niji. 2. Called Naruto with a scowl on his face. During the fight that Niji Guy really grinded on his nerves. 3. Called Kankuro. 4. Called Gaara, causing Kankuro to pale. 5. Called Shikamaru. 6. Called Tamari. 7. Called Sasuke. 8. Called Shino. 9. Called Ino. 10. Called Kakashi for Hinata. 11. Called Dosu. Okay, so the fights will be as follows. Match 1 Niji Hyuga vs Naruto Uzumaki. Match 2 Sabaku no Kankuro vs Sabaku no Gaara. Match 3 Shikamaru Nara vs Sabaku no Temari. Match 4 Sasuke Uchiha vs Shino Aburame. Match 5 Ino Yamanaka vs Hinata Hyuga. Dosu gets a free pass to the second round. Meet at the stadium in a month's time. Dismissed. Marino Ibiki, proctor of the first test, announced. Making his way through the hospital, Naruto searched for his teammate's room. Hinata had been transported here along with her cousin Niji as soon as their match ended, followed soon after by the remaining Chunin hopefuls. Let's see room 214. 214,214. Here it is. Opening the door to Hinata's room, he saw a man that looked like an older version of Niji standing over her unconscious form. He knew this man was the head of the Hyuga clan and Hinata's father. Good evening, Hayashi-sama, Naruto said with a rare bow of respect. The Hyuga patron was the only other person besides Irika-sensei that could catch him after he pulled one of his pranks after all. Uzumaki-san, Hayashi greeted with a nod before narrowing his eyes. You're not planning on causing trouble again, I hope? And no, sir. I'm just here to see how Hinata-chan is doing. Naruto sputtered, waving his hands in front of himself. Seeing Hayashi give his approval, he made his way towards his teammates' sides and took a seat. Uzumaki-san, I've been told you and my daughter are close. Is this true? Hayashi asked as he made his way to a chair on the opposite side of Hinata's bed. Yes, Hayashi-sama. Hinata-chan and I have grown much closer since we were placed in the same team compared to when we were in the academy. Naruto answered as he took Hinata's hand in his own. I see. If that's the case, then I have a favor to ask you. Not as the Hyuga clan head, but as Hinata's father. Hayashi began, and when he saw Naruto looking at him with curiosity, he continued. Since Hinata passed to the finals, I, as clan head, should have taken over her training until the finals start. The clan elders, however, have forced Niji's training on me using the reason that Hinata is incapable of using the gentle fist to its fullest potential, and I fear this will lead to her defeat. I am planning to train her when I can and leave her to train on her own when I'm training Niji. I want to ask of you, however, to be there for her and help her with her training whenever you can. Taking in the information laid out before him, Naruto was about to agree when a thought came to him. I will help her in any way I can, Hayashi-sama, but if I may ask 2 questions. When Hinata and Niji were fighting, it was obvious that Niji was fighting to kill. What happened between them? Hinata has always been quiet and shy in the academy, but she was kind. I can't imagine that she did something so bad that Niji would want to kill her. Sighing, Hayashi began to recall the cause of the Hyuga's grief. About 6 years ago, Kumogakure sent a representative to Konoha so we could sign a peace treaty and form an alliance between our villages. The peace treaty was a cover, however, for the Kumo shinobi to carry out a mission from his village to abduct an unbranded child of the Hyuga clan. Hinata, at the time, was the only unbranded child that we had. The night the alliance was formed, the Kumo shinobi had somehow snuck into the clan estate and escaped with Hinata about 20 minutes later. When we found out, it was almost too late. When I finally found Hinata and the shinobi, she was knocked unconscious and I went into a rage. By the end of the night, Hinata was safe in her bed, and her abductor's core was beyond recognition. But why would Niji be so mad at Hinata after she was captured? Naruto asked, not finding any reason in the Hyuga prodigy's actions. Because when Kumo found out we had killed their shinobi when he was sent to form an alliance, they demanded my head as compensation. The Hyuga elders, however, had other plans and ordered my identical twin brother and Niji's father to take my place for execution. Because of my actions, Niji lost his father and I my brother, but for some reason he blames Hinata and the rest of the main branch. Hayashi finished as he looked at the contemplative blonde. I see. So because he couldn't direct his anger at the clan head and subsequently be punished for insubordination, he decided to redirect it to any and all unbranded Hyuga. Naruto deducted and sighed heavily. I can see why he's mad. I can't even be mad at him, but I can't forgive him for what he did to Hina-chan. I'll beat him in the preliminaries no matter what, and if that doesn't knock him off his high horse, I don't know what will. Oh, and before I forget, the other question I wanted to ask is why the elders believe Hinata to be unskilled enough for the gentle fist's fullest potential. Sighing deeply, Hayashi felt his shoulders slump. The gentle fist is a fighting style to the Hyuga, as it can only be used to its fullest potential by a wielder of the Byakugan. It incorporates the natural chakra element of earth for firm and lethal strikes to the opponent's chakra pathways to close or open them. But for some reason Hinata is unable to perform even the basic stances and katas of the style. And to add to that, Hinata's care for others have started to hinder her and others' training, as she refuses to harm her opponents in spars. Taking a few minutes to digest Hayashi's words, Naruto tried to come up with a solution until, Hayashi-sama, does the gentle fist style require the user to have the earth element? He asked. It isn't required, but the attacks won't be as effective without it. Why? Hayashi answered with narrowed-eyed. Did this boy know something he didn't? I believe the answer to your problem, then, is the fact that Hinata has both a lightning and water affinity. And if I remember correctly, the earth element is weak against the lightning element, though that could probably be cancelled out by earth overpowering water. Anyway, I think it would be better if Hinata creates a divergent style of the gentle fist to fit with her affinity. He explained to the wide-eyed Hyuga. Thank you, Uzumaki-san. This is twice now I'm in your debt. Now, if you will excuse me, I have some duties to attend to, Hayashi said as he stood up and left the room. He had a lot to think about. After a few minutes of watching over Hinata, Naruto heard the window to the hospital room open and looked over. Seeing a familiar white-haired toad summoner, he stood up and greeted his temporary sensei. I've been looking everywhere for you, kid. Come on, we have to get to your training, Jiraiya said as he grabbed Naruto under his arm and jumped back out of the window onto a large yellow toad's back. But I thought you were only going to teach me until the Chunin exam started, Naruto said while the giant man placed him down and took a seat on the toad's head. But I still have some stuff I can teach, Jiraiya replied as he guided the toad to an unoccupied training ground. What about Kakashi-sensei and the others? Naruto asked. I already worked something out with Kakashi, and as for your teammates, Sasuke will be training with your sensei for the month. And when that little girlfriend of yours gets out of the hospital, she'll switch between training with your sensei and sparring with you, since Hayashi-kun so graciously asked you to, Jiraiya explained to a red-faced Naruto. She's not my girlfriend, you damned Aro Senin, Naruto yelled. And did you just call Hayashi-sama Kun? He asked with a raised eyebrow. Yeah, along with the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, I also trained two other students, the one being Hinata's father Hayashi Hyuga and the other being Fugaku Uchiha, Sasuke's father, Jiraiya explained to a wide-eyed Naruto. Speaking of the fourth, I heard Kakashi gave you a scroll left to you by him. Have you opened it yet? He asked and Naruto shook his head. Not yet. Kakashi-sensei told me only to open it with either him, you, or the old man with me, Naruto replied. I see, well pull it out then so we can take a look. Oh, and it might be locked with a blood seal, so draw some blood like when you do for summoning and swipe it across the seal while channeling some chakra, the white-haired man explained. Following the orders, Naruto warped his arm into the nearest shadow before scrambling around for a minute and finally pulled out the scroll he was looking for. Biting his thumb hard enough to draw blood, he swiped it across the seal and unrolled it when he heard a soft pop to signify the seal breaking. "What does it say?" Jiraiya asked as they arrived at an empty training ground. "It's instructions for a jutsu, and there's a seal beneath it," the boy explained while inspecting as much of the scroll and seal as he could. "It says the jutsu's name is Rasengan. Sounds cool," Naruto explained with stars in his eyes. "The Rasengan, huh? That would explain why you're not allowed to open this scroll while me and Kakashi aren't around." This jutsu was Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage's first original, known only by me and your sensei. But it would seem that he now left it for you to learn and finish in his stead, Jiraiya explained to an awestruck Naruto. "I promise on my name I will master this jutsu and finish it where the fourth Hokage could not," Naruto exclaimed. "That's the spirit. Now let's get started," Jiraiya yelled with just as much vigor as the red-tip-haired boy. And so they started their month-long training. Jiraiya had Naruto create 5 pairs of 20 shadow clones and gave each pair a different task to do along with a shadow clone of his own for each group. For the first pair, he ordered them to find out as much uses of their bloodline as possible. The second group was ordered to start practicing the first step of the Rasengan by popping a bunch of water balloons provided by the Toad Sage. The third group was to further increase their chakra control. The fourth group started their chakra element control, and the fifth group trained their summoning for better control. While Naruto's clones were training at their own respective spots at the training ground, the original was busy with training with Jiraiya. Every day was a different subject he trained in. On the first day, Jiraiya had him do physical exercises with weights for 3 hours before the boy had to spar either with one of the man's clones or the old toad Fukasaku. The next day, Jiraiya had the boy practice his strategy by playing a few games of shogi, and the next day Jiraiya had the boy practice his calligraphy with a clone while the real Naruto reads up on seals from books he found in the seal on the scroll explaining the Rasengan. Jiraiya found it quite amusing to see that the books Naruto was using to learn Fuinjutsu were the notes and that Minato took when he first started the underestimated art. About a week and a half after his training started, Naruto ran into Kakashi while visiting Hinata and got an idea for what jutsu he wanted to ask from the silver-haired man. Kakashi, finding the reason his student gave for wanting to learn this jutsu valid, copied the instructions down on a piece of paper and handed it to the boy before departing with Hinata, who was finally ready to start her training. 2 weeks after the start of his training, the training from Naruto's clones started to show progress. He was finally able to form a Rasengan, although it was unstable and often exploded. He could now summon the toad he wanted, though the boss toad, Gamabunta, and elder toad, Fukasaku, took quite the toll on his chakra reserves when he didn't use the Nine-Tails' help. He could finally spar with Jiraiya for about 20 minutes while walking on water and could land a hit every now and then, even if the older man held back by a large amount. He finally completed the first step in his elemental manipulation and could split a leaf in half without a tear. With his shadow bloodline training, which he officially named Void Release, he found he could channel it through chakra-conducting metal when he showed Jiraiya his sword. He finally managed to make a storage seal on his own, which could hold about 10 kilograms each, and when he played shogi against the man, he won about 3 out of every 10 matches. Sometime in the second week of training, Hinata joined them, which allowed Naruto to practice the jutsu he requested from his sensei, and in turn Hinata could practice her taijutsu and Byakugan against an enemy she couldn't see. This routine continued for the rest of the month, Hinata switching between training with Naruto and Jiraiya and training with Sasuke and Kakashi until finally it was the day before the finals. "So do you think you're ready for the finals?" Jiraiya asked the 2 kids trying to land a hit on him, a grin on his face after the blonde failed to land a punch on his side and stumbled into a tree. "As ready as we could be, right, Hina-chan?" Naruto exclaimed as he turned to his dark blue-haired teammate. "Right," Hinata exclaimed as she finally managed to land a hit on the Toad Sage's shoulder and closed a chakra point, causing the man's arm to go limp, opening him up for more attacks. "Well then, I think that wraps up our training. You did well, both of you. I'm proud to admit that you both stand a very big chance of winning this thing." Now go home and get some rest. You'll need it for tomorrow, Jiraiya said as he ruffled the kid's hair. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Watching as the man used the body flicker technique, Naruto and Hinata started to make their way to the Team 7 compound until the excitable blonde's stomach rumbled and he dragged his blushing teammate to Ichiraku's ramen. It's almost time. We're gonna win this thing, Naruto thought as he looked over to Hinata eating her noodles. Naruto and Hinata were speeding through the village. They had gone to sleep later than they should have because Naruto was trying to add seals on a new weapon he was designing in the workshop he called a room, and he asked Hinata if she could test it. It would have worked out fine if they didn't fall asleep before they could set an alarm to wake them up. If not Kakashi coming home to grab a set of clothes for Sasuke, then they would have stayed asleep. What's even worse is Kakashi caught them sleeping in the same bed, Naruto with his arms wrapped around them. The poor teens were still red even now as they tried making their way to the stadium before being disqualified for running late. We're not gonna make it, are we? Naruto panted as they took a wrong turn and ran into a dead end. Don't worry, Naruto-kun. We'll be there in time. Maybe we should take to the rooftops. We'll be able to see better, Hinata assured the depressed blonde. Asterisk sniff sniff asterisk, you're always so positive, Hina-chan. You're like an angle. Let's go. We'll make it to the stadium and then I'm gonna kick Niji's ass, Naruto yelled, grabbing the brunette's hand and jumping to the rooftops. In the stadium, all the contestants, minus the members of Team 7 and Dosu, were lined up, Hayate Gecko standing in front of them and explaining the rules. Okay guys, you made it. Most of you anyway. The rules are the same as the prelims. You fight until your opponent either forfeits, is knocked unconscious, dies, or until I call the match. Some of you may not be alive after this, so let me give you a piece of advice. If you know you're losing, give up immediately. There's no shame in forfeiting if you live to see another day. Understand? Hayate asked, and when he saw most of them nod, he sighed and continued. Now the first fighters will be. Just as the proctor was about to call the names of the first match, he was interrupted by a loud yell coming from the sky. Looking up, everyone saw a strange black blob blocking out the sun, growing bigger every second. After a while, the yell split into two different voices and the blob took on the form of two teens. Snapping into action, everyone ran out of the way in fear of being landed on. However, a very unfortunate Shikamaru Nara, who somehow fell asleep on his feet, was in the wrong place at the wrong time and was used as a fall cushion for the two members of Team 7. I'm gonna kill that damned cat, Naruto groaned as he rubbed his head. What the hell, Naruto? Shikamaru almost yelled from underneath Naruto and Hinata. Where did you come from? Sorry, Shikamaru-kun. We got into a bit of trouble with Tora, and then we somehow ended up in the sky over the stadium, Hinata explained as she climbed of her teammate so the other two could stand up. Everyone just sweat dropped at the explanation, which only got worse when Shikamaru grumbled something about, anything's possible with that troublesome cat. Looking around the stadium, Naruto noted that everyone was still present, which means that they made it before the matches started. Either that or the fights wrapped up so quickly that the exams are over. Oh, you made it just in time. I was about to send everybody up to start the fights, Hayate said as he stepped forward. Naruto and Niji stay. Everyone else go to the platforms, he ordered. Naruto and Niji stared each other down. They had spent a month honing their skills for this battle, both of them getting stronger to win this battle and prove to the other that their ideals and beliefs are superior. Give up, Uzumaki. You are destined to lose here, Niji stated. The only response was for Naruto to readjust his sword from his back to his hip before drawing the blade. Very well, don't say I didn't warn you, Niji said as he dropped into the gentle fist style of the Hyuga clan. Seeing the two contestants were ready, Hayate began the match and jumped away to make room for the two fighters. The two shinobi only continued staring at each other, waiting for the other to make the first move. After about 30 minutes of not moving, Niji rushed the blonde when he saw the younger boy's sword drop a bit. Naruto, however, saw the older boy's attack coming as he purposely made it seem like he's dropped his guard. Using the flat of his blade, Naruto deflected Niji's chakra-infused palm strike before maneuvering his body to slash at the Hyuga's back. However, Niji sprang forward, causing the blade to only cut the skin, barely enough blood dripping out to be classified as a scratch. First blood. Naruto teased, trying to get Niji to lose his cool. It worked. Niji was seriously pissed. How could this no-name loser injure him? A Hyuga destined to win, let alone draw first blood. Turning around to face the red-tipped blonde, Niji activated his Byakugan and again dropped into his taijutsu stance. Observing Naruto's chakra network, Niji was surprised at how large the boy's reserves were, but quickly recomposed himself and went back to watching the boy. Naruto took one hand off of his sword and formed a seal, grinning at his opponent's wide eyes and the gasps around the stadium. He's used the shadow clone jutsu so many times during his training that he finally managed to mold the chakra needed to use the technique by only using one hand. Forming 20 shadow clones, Naruto ordered them to attack the stunned Hyuga, who was, quite literally, snapped out of his thoughts when a shadow clone flew through the air and kicked the prodigy in the stomach. The rest of the clones went to follow up on the attack, and although a few managed to land a few good hits, Niji managed to gain control over situation and quickly disposed of the copies. Charging at the blonde Niji was finally fast enough to land an attack on the blood that sent the younger boy flying. Moving with the Uzumaki, Niji managed to land a few more hits before Naruto managed to block the strikes. The two shinobi went back and forth for an hour, beating each other senseless until Naruto jumped back. Sheathing his sword, Naruto formed 50 shadow clones before sticking his arm in the shadow. His body formed and pulling out 2 large containers full of water. Opening the containers, Naruto went through hand seals. Ox snake ram and all the water in the containers began dissipating. At first, everybody in the stadium laughed and pointed at the blonde, and then a thick fog began to cover their view. All the attending Hyugas activated their Byakugan and gasped in shock as most of them couldn't see through the chakra-laced mist. The older and more experienced Hyuga, who could see through the jutsu, found it hard to do so. Laughing at the cries of indication from the Hyuga clan, Naruto searched for Niji using his superior senses. Finally finding the Hyuga's scent, he drew his sword and charged the boy. Unfortunately, he promised Hinata that he wouldn't kill the older boy, so the match would have to be drawn out more than he would like. Silently arriving behind the boy, Naruto cut Niji's thigh and disappeared into the mist before his opponent could turn around and find him. If he had to draw out the fight, he might as well enjoy it by angering the older boy. The blonde managed to get in 13 slices all over Niji's body before the Hyuga's rage boiled over, and he called out, 8 trigrams, heavenly palm rotation. Naruto was caught off guard as he ran straight into the ultimate defense of the Hyuga clan and, along with the mist, was flung backwards. Pushing himself off the wall he collided with, Naruto spit out blood and started observing Niji's movements but couldn't find a weakness to strike at. Deciding to try and sense the boy's chakra in the dome, Naruto found that Niji's chakra was spread evenly throughout. A/N. I completely forgot to mention Naruto's ability to sense chakra in the previous chapter. Let's just act like he also trained this ability through the training month. Winky face. Up in the stands, Hayashi Hyuga sat wide-eyed as he stared at his nephew performing a jutsu that only the main house of the Hyuga clan should know. He knew that no elder of the main house would teach the boy this technique, which would mean that Niji learned it all on his own. Honestly, he was proud of the boy. Hisashi, if only you could see your son. You would have been proud, my brother, he thought. As Niji stopped the technique, he stumbled a bit. The 8 trigrams really took a lot out of him. Staring over at the blonde laying on the floor, he grinned before charging his opponent, intending to end the match as quickly as possible. Infusing his palm with chakra, Niji went to strike the blonde's heart, but before the fatal attack could land, Naruto disappeared in black wisps. Looking around, Niji realized that he was covered in the shadows of the towering arena wall. Naruto opened his eyes and saw the welcome sight of his shadow realm. He sighed in relief as he remembered just how close to being killed he was. If he had been second too late, he would have been a goner. Calling over the viewing crystals he used to look into the real world, Naruto found a spot between some trees where he could pop out. Looking around, The blonde realized that Niji hasn't spotted him yet. Using a kunai to cut his thumb and draw some blood, Naruto went through a few hand seals before slamming his hand on the ground and calling out, "Toad summoning jutsu, Gamakichi." The little orange toad looked around before looking at the blonde. "Hey Naruto, where are we?" he asked. "Hey Kichi, we're in the Konoha Stadium for the Chunin exams. I'm fighting a Hyuga." "I see. What do you need my help for then?" Leaning over, Naruto whispered his plan into Gamakichi's ear. Nodding at his summoner's plan, he answered, "It'll work, but I better get a lot of snacks for this." Chuckling, Naruto pulled out some sweets and handed them to his summon. Forming his signature ram hand seal, 20 more Narutos popped into existence. If Niji hadn't known where he was before, he did now. Niji looked everywhere he possibly could with his Byakugan activated, but for some reason he couldn't find his damnable opponent. He spun there in the middle of the stadium, looking like a fool. This went on for about 20 minutes before he felt a large chakra spike in the small forested area of the arena. Looking over, he saw 20 chakra signatures charging at him and went back into his fighting stance. The clones surrounded the Hyuga boy, throwing kicks and punches that he had trouble blocking and dodging. After a few minutes, he dispelled 20 of the clones and was now on a one-on-one battle with the original who, for some reason, fought in a different style than the clones. He was quickly growing tired while fighting the blonde who kept jumping around, making it hard for Niji to land a punch. When Naruto was about to land a punch, Niji began channeling chakra throughout his entire body, spinning as he did so, the chakra leaving his body and creating a dome as he spun. Naruto crashed into the dome and again was sent flying to a wall, but before the blonde could crash, he disappeared in a cloud of smoke and was replaced by a large orange toad sticking its tongue out at him. Eyes widening, he spun with his 8 trigrams technique and saw the real Naruto dashing at him with a small orange spinning sphere in his hand. Looking at the chakra sphere with his Byakugan, Niji saw that the technique was unstable and would collapse at any second, which would cause a large explosion. Believing he would be safe from the explosion though, Niji smirked and continued spinning, ignoring the blonde lunging at him with his Rasengan. For this reason, he was surprised when he felt the speed of the rotating dome rapidly dropping before he was blasted away, crashing into a few trees. All around the stadium, everyone sat in silence. The blonde boy almost everyone in the village hated and despised, just used the 4th Hokage's first original jutsu. Some even realized that if you squint your eyes just enough, the blonde looked exactly like their hero. Naruto calmly walked to his opponent, using his sheathed sword like a walking cane. The battle took its toll on his body. He was thankful for both the fox and his Uzumaki heritage for his super healing. Standing next to the face-down Niji, Naruto crouched down and pulled the Hyuga up by his long hair. He stared into the older boy's pale eyes with anger before slamming his opponent's head into his knee with great force. Continuing this movement for a few times, he finally let go and went to sit next to Niji. "You know, you really pissed me off. I dug around a bit and found out what happened to your dad. I also found out what that seal on your forehead does. I understand why you're mad, but you're mad at the wrong people," Naruto said. Niji weakly pushed himself up and sat against a tree he crashed into. Spitting out some blood, he looked at Naruto and answered, "If you know what this seal does, then you should know why I despise my uncle and the rest of the main branch. They use us as slaves, and if we disagree with their choices, they activate this cursed seal, breaking our minds. But I can't expect you to understand the burden of having a seal placed upon you, taking away all freedom you have in the choices you make. That's exactly why you piss me off. You go on and on about something bad that happened to you without taking into consideration the things other people might have to endure too. You think I don't know what it's like to have a seal placed on me, but I know what it feels like more than anyone in your clan. A seal was placed on me to save the entire village from the Nine-Tails fox. The 4th Hokage couldn't kill the fox like many stories lead us to believe. In order to stop the fox's rampage, he had to find a strong enough vessel to seal it in. Me being an Uzumaki, and therefore have a much stronger body and larger chakra reserves than most people even at birth, was the perfect container. From the day I was born, I had the burden of the entire village's safety placed on my shoulders, and the people of this village only made it harder by beating and insulting me. But you don't hear me complaining, do you? Even after my brother was killed, I stayed strong. I had to stay strong for the little people that cared for me, and it's for them that I'll become Hokage. Not for the people, but for the people that acknowledges me and for the future generation. I'll bring back the will of fire that the first Hokage believed in. Naruto explained, not noticing the tears both he and many of the audience let loose. Looking over at the red-tipped blonde, Neji couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. This boy had such a burden placed upon him, and yet he still stood strong and defiant in the faces of those that oppose him. Could he be that strong? Could he go against destiny and carve his own path through the Hyuga clan? So lost in thought, he barely notices Naruto standing up and standing before him. If you truly believe that you can't change your fate, then I won't stop you. But if there's even a small part of you that's willing to try and fight against the odds, then take my hand and I'll stand by your side as you prove to the rest of your clan just how useless it is to try and force a fate onto others. Reaching out a limp hand, Neji was pulled to his feet as he thought, "You are wrong, Naruto Uzumaki. It is not you who will stand alongside me, but I who will stand alongside you." Turning to the proctor, he exclaimed, "Proctor, I've lost.